What's going on, everybody?
Another beautiful day in paradise.
That's right. You know, it's weird because today, during this episode of the Superhero Homies podcast, you were going to hear us talk about some incredible works of fiction and also Ironheart. All in one episode.
That is correct. Not sure why you singled out Ironheart like that. You know, that was interesting. Because I assure you that Ironheart will be one of the Marvel shows of all time.
Oh yeah, it will be. Yes. I agree.
And since you know you started there,
I can feel our viewership dropping just after I mentioned it.
I'm sure most of them are wondering the fuck is Ironheart. Well, that would be young Riri Williams. We first saw her in Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. And then we probably had her best appearance in What If Season 3.
Yeah.
And now here we are, about a month and a half removed from seeing her live action TV show. Comes out in late June. And before I get into this trailer and my thoughts on it, I just got to say this, right? Like, I want this show to be well because, like, even though we're getting like more black representation in the nerd genre and the comic book genre, we always need more validation, it seems, before like it's fully accepted by the masses. Now, the catch to that is it has to be really fucking good to be accepted. And I would love to get up here and be like, yeah, guys, I think this show is going to be amazing and you should all watch it. But I got a job to do. And I cannot say that. I have seen this trailer twice now for Ironheart, and I am woefully saddened and disappointed in the overall quality of this show. But, I mean, if I'm being honest, this has been an easy call from a year out. You know, a year ago, I was on this podcast saying, I don't think that this show is going to be worth anything good.
There is a very thin line, especially I'd say lately, between representation and pandering. Mm-hmm. And when you cross that line, it's very difficult to come back from it. You know, to give you an example, the Ocean's 8 movie, that's pandering. The all-female Ghostbusters film, that is one of the worst films with ghosts in it ever. And I feel like that bar is in hell.
It's got to be.
Also, you know, I'm all for, you know, women being represented in movie casts and stage plays, television shows, all of that. And minorities of all types. As a matter of fact, you know, if you look at it like from like the 50s to now, like there's been a lot of progress made and there's still more to make.
Yep.
But, and I hope it keeps it going in that direction. But you can't start with that. It's just like you can't start with, you know, we've talked about like messaging a lot of times. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if I agree with your message or not. You have to start with an idea. You have to start with the art.
Right.
And then if you want to, in a way that makes sense for the story you're trying to tell, have a message in there. I mean, we just got done. We are in the middle of reviewing a show with a couple of very excellent messages. One of them is
The Last of Us.
No, that's not it.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm talking about Andor.
Oh,
and their anti-fascism stance that's built into their messaging that goes all the way back to 78 Star Wars. You know, that is a message that their story allows them to tell, but you can't start with that. Right. You know.
Yeah, and you know those are very excellent points that you brought up. But it always seems that Hollywood is, for some reason, behind the curve, always, with things like this. And guys, believe it or not, Riri Williams was created by the same guy who made Miles Morales. And it's not like I'm talking about Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah.
And it's not like Bendis made Riri first and said, man, like I was on to something that didn't quite land it. And then he tried again and made Miles. No, Miles came first. And then Riri came, a couple years later.
Well, maybe it's like, you're trying to make a homemade pizza, right?
Uh-huh.
And you get that dough out,
Yep.
and you make that shit perfect. And you get out them pepperonis and that cheese, and you just laying that shit on there. You got all kind of pepperoni on there, some bacon,
Yes.
The fucking cheese is barely contained by the crust, You put that bitch in the oven, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna work on that second piece. And you turn around, and you realize you done used up almost all your ingredients. You're like, shit, man, let me see what I can scrounge together with what I got in here.
Yeah. and so there ends up being a bunch of shit in this pizza that isn't supposed to be.
It's a little personal pan with
Yep.
some bell peppers on it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, you got like what were those things? Like remember like the Lunchable pizzas?
Yeah, you got some of the Lunchable shit on there. Yeah.
Oh.
Got some of that tube sauce.
Oh yeah. And just some shredded cheese that you drop on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. 3 pieces of pepperoni.
It's a slice of American.
Oh,
actually,
okay,
out the
yeah.
fridge. Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
He's like, man, I used up all my pizza stuff on this dope ass pizza.
But it's just crazy, right? Because if you look at Miles Morales in like the past, I guess you can say 7 years, right? Since like 2018, that's when we got into the Spider-Verse and the Insomniac Spider-Man game, which featured Miles as well. And, ever since then, Miles has been, he's blown up. Like, he's a huge character now. And there are several reasons, I think, for his success. And I've had this theory for years about why Miles is so successful and Riri has struggled to gain any traction. And a lot of it has to do with simply presentation. Miles, like if you're going to do something that is decisively derivative, then you have to do it with so much heart and effort in it that it is at least as good as the original.
Or you got to get damn close.
You got to get damn close. And they have been able to do that with Miles. It's not easy, but they've been able to do that. And on top of that, Miles has Peter with him.
Right.
And that helps out a lot too, obviously.
They were screwed on this in the MCU from jump because Riri Williams doesn't even, like, Tony Stark is dead like years before she shows up.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that you've chosen to ignore his existence with Ironheart and don't even make the connection. She's never mentioned Tony Stark. Nobody else even goes, oh, hey, that's kind of like Iron Man's armor. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
It's insanely silly in a world where their most famous hero is Iron Man. And, like, Tony Stark is, like, this legend. Like, he saved the planet, the
Several
universe,
times.
actually. And it's not believable for the world of the MCU. And what makes it even worse is, like, these are the rules that you guys wrote.
Yeah.
This is the world building that Disney did. And it's unbelievable to me that they think this would ever catch on. I mean, they can't have any faith left in this character at this point. And rule number 1, right? Mm-hmm. Integrity of the characters. The comic book character isn't even all that loved, right. But like they couldn't even stick to the integrity of the comic book character here.
Yeah. And it's so unfortunate, right? Because you're hoping that they could do because there have been moments where the MCU has been able to take characters and make them something better than what they are in the comic books.
Kamala Khan
is,
but here's the thing though, is like they changed her power set, but I think the core of who she is still Kamala.
Yeah.
But I think but they changed the power set to not make her just, fucking D-list Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Or in the that Multiverse of Madness universe, I guess A-list Reed Richards. However you
Yeah. But we even theorized a couple of weeks ago about why we haven't heard anything about this show, because it's going to come out in just a few weeks. And then, lo and behold, today we get a trailer for it. And this is, I mean, besides that one snippet we got, 8 months ago or so,
that's part of a reel for like all the shows,
right? Besides that, this is the first bit of footage that we've seen on this Ironheart show.
Yeah,
I don't think that Marvel has any faith in this. I think that they're treating this in a similar way that they did Echo. They're just going to put it out there, and hell, remember, I think Echo came out all at once. It was only 5 episodes, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think you might be onto something. This Ironheart show might only be 5-6 episodes, and they might drop it all at once.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. There's nothing in this trailer. Like if this trailer is the sizzle reel, oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't look appealing to me. And I think they know. I think what's the guy's name? Brad Windenbaum, I think is his name, who's like the head of Marvel TV now. Mm-hmm. You know, he has said like kind of very similar to what they did with the movies, where they're like, okay, this is like the cutoff, and that was unfortunately Brave New World. Yep. And it's like we are really going to try to improve the quality and change how we do things here. And they were very successful on the movie side. I mean, Thunderbolts is being very well received by audiences, and I think it's got people excited for the MCU again.
Yes.
But, you know, they're going to need to do something similar on the TV front, and I think this and, is it Wonder Man?
Yep.
I think they already shot, and he kind of inherited them, and he's like, oh, well, we're just going to put them on the slate and push them out there, and what have you, because he seems very focused on like actually producing Born Again like a typical TV show, you know, having a season every year. And I think they're going to do that with a couple of other shows. Just a tidbit here, this ain't comic news, but we did get official confirmation that Jessica Jones is going to be in season 2 of Born Again. Kristen Ritter will be reprising her role.
Yes.
So
it's good to get that official confirmation. There had been rumors that she was on set for season 2, and well, now we know that she definitely was.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's great news. Matt should probably go pick up the other Defenders while he's, you know, while he's over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's great. We got more trailers.
We did. Well, we got the Spider-Noir teaser.
We did.
I don't know how much we can say about that. This looks awful to me. I don't like the concept. And then I found out this shit was live action. Visually, it hurts my face.
Okay, well, maybe this will make it better for you. Nick Cage will be there. You know, he is still Spider-Noir.
No, I'm aware of that. Yeah, no.
Oh, and that doesn't help you any? It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
No, do you think he's going to fight a giant spider at the end?
The odds are never zero. But technically, he finally got to do that in the Flash movie.
No, that's true. He did. He did. I'm just going to say that that would probably improve things for me a tad. If he fights the giant spider at the end.
Does it have to be mechanical in nature or just giant?
No, I'd actually prefer if it was just a spider, like a creature.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
I don't think the one, the Superman Lives one was going to be mechanical. I think they just had to figure out a way to make it work in the Wild West.
Yeah. I think they reworked it several times because one of them was going to be Brainiac actually has like a Spider-Rex body.
That's true, yeah. That was going to be a thing, yep.
But yeah, one of them was also just going to be a giant fucking spider thing. I think they're going to call it the Thanagarian snare beast or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
Which, you know, the Thanagarians, those are the Hawk people in the DC universe, and we also get to see Hawk Girl in some of these trailers that we have here.
That's
tonight.
Right. The next two.
We
want to save the money shot for the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so Peacemaker, I actually had not seen the trailer. I know it's been out for a couple weeks now, right?
About a week.
Okay. And I had not watched it. I just had not got around to it. You know, I've been very busy watching 3 fucking hours of Andor
Right.
and reviewing it every week. But yeah, just saw it for the first time. It looks like they've expanded on the first season. Mm-hmm. It looks fucking nuts. The production value is all the way up. You can tell that DC really trusts James Gunn. I I want to mention this here, and it doesn't really have anything to do with Peacemaker, but fucking, they're actually changing the name of the service back to HBO Max, and not just Max.
I had not noticed that.
Yeah, it's almost like Warner Brothers Discovery was like, oh man, that was a really strong brand that was known for like top-notch shows. Maybe we shouldn't have scraped it off the building.
That was a really dumb decision because HBO has been around for decades and has always been associated with prestige television.
Right.
So why would you scrap that name? Yeah.
Because because David Zaslav, he's on ketamine. I'm going to get a cease and desist from his lawyer tomorrow.
Yep.
He's allegedly on ketamine.
It'll be the one time the committee is really on their shit and they nip that in the bud ASAP.
That's right. Yeah. He's allegedly on ketamine. Listen, I'm not saying he has a ketamine problem. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's a drug addict and not just a fucking moron.
God damn. There's the cease and desist.
Yeah. But if you guys want to dispute the drug addict part, you'll just be proving me correct on the other part.
Oh, shit. Well, that aside, because that is really... It's really dumb that they got rid of the HBO name in the first place. And also, like, the people who knew never stopped calling it HBO.
Yeah. But, like, that shit's been associated with, The Sopranos, fucking Game of Thrones, The Wire. Just True Blood. All of this prestige television. Euphoria. The list goes on.
Yeah. Like, HBO used to have such name value that even if you were completely unfamiliar with what one of their shows was, you would check it out anyway because chances are it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's just really dumb to get rid of the HBO name in the first place.
They were the first ones to really do, and the only ones for a while to do prestigious television.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, man, the only thing on TV like that was like procedurals.
Yeah, procedurals, and procedures were made so that you didn't have to be caught up with any kind of story. It was always like a story of the week type thing.
Yep. Yep. Try to get the viewers in this week. Mm-hmm. It was procedurals and game shows and the news.
Yeah, and the news.
And that was it.
That was about it. Yeah, if you had an old black grandma, it was In the Heat of the Night. That was the show.
And Matlock.
Murder, She Wrote.
It actually didn't matter what color your grandma was. That's what she was getting. Murder, She Wrote.
Yep.
Matlock.
Yeah.
In the Heat of the Night.
Uh-huh.
There was another one.
Oh, shit. There were a few of those back then, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of it was a Western.
Oh, MASH? No, there was Gunsmoke.
MASH too, but Gunsmoke is the one that ran for fucking 8,000 episodes or whatever it was.
Oh, shit. Oh, that brings me back. Oh, my gosh.
Somebody really famous was on Gunsmoke, weren't they?
I feel like it, like the main guy.
Yeah. Also, Bret Hart did a run on Gunsmoke, I think.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
I do vaguely remember seeing him dressed up as like a cowboy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did a run on Gunsmoke.
Bro, that's crazy because that had to have been like in the early to mid 90s.
Right.
And Gunsmoke came on, premiered who knows when.
Yeah. Yep, he was there. Bret Hart was on Gunsmoke.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man.
He was also in Lonesome Dove.
Yeah, Bret Hart was just doing shit.
Yeah, he just kind of had that look.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, that was what was on TV back in the day, folks. I'm so glad that we're not in that era.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We'd be so bored.
Yeah.
I'd probably be on drugs.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I love me an episode of Supermarket Sweep, but I can't watch that shit all the time.
You can't watch it all the time. And you couldn't. That was what makes you frustrated. Like, why are you going for the cereal? Go for the fucking.
Yeah. Everybody knows the hams are worth more.
Yes, come on. God. But I'm also sure that there are supermarkets in Peacemaker. Which is
that was a hell of a segue.
Thank you.
No, this looks incredible. It basically looks like they're taking everything from the first season that worked and they're amping it for the second season, which is really what you wanted in season 2.
I also feel like I need to go ahead and preemptively give you props about a theory that you had from some time ago. you theorize that Maxwell Lord is probably funding whatever version of the Justice Society they have.
I did call that.
You did, and I think this trailer kind of confirms it, at least to a degree, because in the beginning of this trailer we see Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl sitting with Maxwell Lord, and they're like looking through like a one-way mirror at Peacemaker and making snide remarks at him.
Unbeknownst to them.
Yeah. And so like that does just kind of lead into the idea that, yeah, maybe Maxwell Lord is funding this version of the Justice Society.
What's your opinion of
Sean
Gunn? I was trying to think. I was trying to think of his name, and for whatever reason, my brain was like Bob Gunn, and I was like, that's not it.
Yeah, no.
That might be his Gunsmoke character.
I think that's like an old school wrestling thing you did, because I think Bob Holly teamed with Bart Gunn.
Oh yeah, that's exactly probably what my brain did. It was like, yeah, this much is what you're looking for, right? I'm like, no.
As a matter of fact, brain, how did you even find that?
Yeah. Must have been using like fucking dogpile.com to search for that shit. There used to be other search engines
besides Google.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we never said Google that.
Yeah. It was you got to go look that up or whatever.
Right. Ask Jeeves.
Yeah. Yep.
And Yahoo.
Yeah. I think you can still use Yahoo.
I mean, you can.
I mean, yeah. Nobody ever used Bing though.
Yeah, Bing
that wasn't really a thing.
Right. We're just the fucking nostalgia crew today.
We really are. But what do you think about this trailer, man?
I really dig this trailer because it seems like they are not just coasting off of the energy of season 1, because in theory they could just run it back and give us the exact same shit, and I'm sure that most people would still be fine with it, but it looks like they're continuing the narrative here, so and I dig that, because part of the arc in season 1 for Peacemaker was him dealing with killing Rick Flag Jr.
Right.
And now we see that that's going to come home to roost in some regards, because we see Rick Flag Sr. and he seems like he's going to be on Peacemaker's ass, about this.
Yeah. And maybe also the fact that his dad was a raging racist.
That also had a lot to do with it too. Yeah.
So I want to talk about, and this is actually a good segue into the trailer here for Superman, is like, there's like a fictional rock band that is referenced in all of the DCU projects so far.
Is there?
So in the Creature Commandos, they mentioned the Mighty Crabjoys.
Okay.
And Superman, in the Superman trailer, when Lois is like, you have a dog or whatever, and it shows him laying in his bed, there's a Mighty Crabjoys poster up on the wall. And there's also one in the Peacemaker trailer.
The fuck is James Gunn up to?
I don't know, but there's no way that he accidentally did this shit.
Absolutely not. That is fascinating. Yeah. I'm not sure what his goal is there with that, but it has that James Gunn quirk to it. That's for damn sure.
Because I noticed the trailer, the poster in both trailers, and then of course I went to our forensic experts, Reddit, and they of course had also picked up on that it was in Creature Commandos as well.
Wow.
So
that is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that.
The Superman trailer dropped today.
It did.
I'll be honest, I tend to only watch the first thing that comes out about a property, like the first trailer or whatever they drop. And as we've said, like, Hollywood doesn't really know the difference between a teaser and a trailer anymore anyway. When I first heard that James Gunn was going to kick the DCU off and it was going to be Superman, I was like, ew. And then like the casting started to come out, and then I was like, I don't really like this. Like, the only interest that I even have in this at all is the fact that James Gunn is making it. Like, James Gunn has enough credit with me that I'll go see the shit even if it looks bad to me. Then the first teaser came out, and I saw that, and also the extended teaser, because in the original one, they didn't have the part where the robots bring him in and hit him with the sun.
And Crypto fucks him up.
And Crypto, yeah. And that got me a little more interested. in it, and I gotta say this trailer has me on board. So he has slowly pushed me into the yes column on this. It's his game to lose now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm right there. You know, I'm ready for it. I don't see how anybody watches this trailer and doesn't want to go see this movie.
It's a great trailer. And it's like we've said before, we've been fooled by great trailers in the past.
Oh, yeah.
But if we're choosing to be optimistic here, and also just, like you said, coasting off the credit that James Gunn has with us, I think that this is going to be a really fun movie, a really good movie. And it's like you also said earlier, it feels like the tone is going to be spot on for this.
That's the hardest thing to get in a Superman movie, to me.
It absolutely is.
Because you want a hopeful message, but in today's era of filmmaking, it's incredibly easy to make that feel cringe.
Yeah.
You know, to have it be, what do they call it? It's like, the term is slipping my mind, like toxic positive.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, toxic positivity.
Yeah. To have it go into that category, you know?
Yeah.
And you just don't, like, it's just a hard balance to walk. It's like in pro wrestling, you know, trying to be the white meat baby face, you know, the Cody Rhodes thing.
Yep.
And it's so hard to pull that off. You have to have a certain edge to you to where you don't seem like a caricature, and you don't want too much edge, because then you get fucking Batman versus Superman. You know, it's a very, very thin line that you have to walk, and I feel like he has nailed it with the tone of this trailer, because it feels hopeful, but Clark also doesn't feel like this autonomous good deeds paladin bot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's an internal struggle there, you know, and I think my favorite part of this trailer is probably the beginning of it for me, actually. Seeing him sitting down with Lois, and, you know, they're conducting this interview. Like, he's allowing her to interview Superman.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic because we get to see, like, the complexities of their relationship and also the internal conflict with Clark himself. And I really dig that, especially in a younger version of Clark Kent like we have here. You know, so, like, he's, you know, in his mind, he is doing everything that he's supposed to do as, like, as someone who is there for hope and good and all things righteous. But the way that it's being perceived and presented by, whether it be the media is or whoever, is like, it's very disparaging to him, and he's reacting to it like a human, because he was raised by humans, you know.
Right.
And you know, so this would have fell flat for me if he responded like, well, people can be misguided at times, you know. They just, if he just kind of brushed it off. But the fact that, like, it clearly agitates him that for whatever reason people think that he is there as a threat or there for ulterior motives other than him just wanting to help.
Yes.
But it's also him, to a degree, being naive and not understanding the complexities of, like, geopolitics or war or, you know, just things of that nature.
Human nature.
Yeah. I mean. And so, like, I really love how they're dealing with those complexities. Again, it's not just so black and white, but it has layers to it. And all throughout and that, for me, that sets the tone for the entire trailer, because then all throughout the trailer you see moments of him, you know, being knocked down and, you know, in these drag out fights, and then civilians helping him up. Whereas in the beginning of the trailer, we see civilians pelting trash at him, you know. And so it's, I think it's a really good trailer. It's really effective, and it really just nails the tone of Superman the way that it should be.
You know, there's a reason that the Rocky formula is used in cinema so often. Mm-hmm. The David versus Goliath, you know, the underdog versus the all-powerful. Because it fucking works. But I gotta be honest, man. If you can find a way to do that with, like, the strongest motherfucker on the planet, that's impressive.
Yes.
You know, if you can have Superman without, like, shitting on him as a character, feel like he's, you know, fighting his way up, you know.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Absolutely.
But this trailer conveys that. And it feels like it's both a physical and a mental struggle, you know.
Yes.
I love that he kind of sets it up like, oh yeah, I mean, I could be interviewed by Lois Lane, whatever. And like, she's a fucking A-level journalist. She's not gonna throw him softball easy questions.
She didn't pull punches.
And then he's like, "Oh, wait a minute, I ain't signed up for this shit."
Yeah. Also, like, did they elude that Lex is the president?
I don't think he is. I think that's just she was asking him, like, the interview is going on in the background for the trailer, and right after she says the president, Lex is shown, like, right after that. So either that's an intentional foreshadowing. I don't think he is the president yet.
Okay.
I think maybe they might be foreshadowing that eventuality.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think it was accidental either.
Yeah.
You know, that he gets shown right after that.
Yeah, that was definitely done on purpose. But
I mean, I just don't think there's any way the fucking president sneaks into the Fortress of Solitude. You know?
Yeah. That does make you wonder how the fuck are they going to get in there. Like, I'm assuming that the door has been left open because you can't just kind of walk into that place.
I mean, Crypto knows how to get in, so.
Crypto can get in. Crypto very may well have let them in.
Yeah. Some people are here.
Yeah. And also, I'm already sad that some of the robots get destroyed.
I know.
Yeah. Oh. Well, hopefully it wasn't the new one.
Is Alan Tudyk voicing those?
I don't know.
I think he's got to be.
He's not tired of voicing robots?
I don't think so.
Yeah, why not?
I just got done watching some of his amazing robot voice work last night, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, I gotta go ahead and finish Andor.
Yeah, fucking K2SO is such a treasure.
Yeah,
he might be my favorite droid.
Wow,
I just love how like HK-47 he is.
I was gonna say, what about HK-47?
Yeah, he's like right there with HK-47, and then of course like R2. Like everyone loves R2.
Yeah.
Yep, he's voicing the robots.
Ah.
Yeah, of course he is.
Nice. Well, with that being said, now that we have discussed we discussed 3 trailers and we mentioned Spider-Noir.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are now ready to get into tonight's main event.
32 minutes in.
What?
Only here, folks.
Only here on this podcast. Speaking of this podcast, proper introductions are in order. So, homies one and all, allow us to welcome you back to another very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and tonight I am here with the perfect 10 co-host. I'm talking about the homie Caleb.
That's me? It's really me? No, we conceptualized this a few months ago, and then we were like, we really got to get it on the slate. And then it was a couple of months before we actually had a day to where we weren't reviewing something. I can't tell you the last time we actually had a fucking episode of this where we weren't reviewing something.
It's been a while.
And I'll be honest, I love reviewing things. I love giving my opinion on things and breaking stuff down and analyzing like why I think it's good or why I think it's bad or why you guys are wrong for thinking it's good or why you guys are wrong for thinking it's bad or any of that stuff. But I also really tend to enjoy these episodes where we just kind of take a step back and get to look at a specific topic or talk about like what makes certain things work or doesn't, or even to look back at older works and things like that. So here we are. We're gonna do the damn thing. This is the Perfect 10's episode, and I think the irony of calling it that is great. But I am happy that we're here to do it.
Yes. This has been something, like you said, we've been baking for a while now. And yeah, it's finally time to get into this. And like before I could sit down and like conceptualize what in the world would I put on a perfect 10 list, I had to kind of define for me what does it mean to have something that is in fact a perfect 10.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the most important things about this, and the irony of us calling it the Perfect 10's episode,
it's not perfect.
It's not perfect. Yeah. There's nothing under the sun that's perfect, right? And so when you look at something that's a 10 out of 10, you really have to figure out what that criteria is for you.
Yes. Yeah, and for me, the best way that I can describe that for me, like what a perfect 10 would be is like where the goal of the art, so like whether it be a movie, TV show, video game, comic book, whatever it is, like the goal of the art is executed to such a high level that like any perceived flaws don't hinder the meaning or the message or the overall objective of that art. So like if it is setting out to be like this visual spectacle with these deep enriched character moments that has this phenomenal pacing and just this wonderful overlay of storytelling that's all blended well together and presented in such a way that is just this gorgeous piece of art, there might be like these small stumbles or missteps along the way, but as long as they don't deter from that overall goal of what the show is setting out to do, then I think that it's hit its mark.
There can't be like a section of the like big battle at the end where like everyone with a vagina is magically in the same spot.
That's a very odd descriptor that you just used there.
Yeah, it'd be weird to do that.
It would be very weird to do that.
Especially on something you spent like $1 billion on.
Yeah. Especially like if you had done it better in the movie that came out.
Right before that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, great example though.
Yeah. That, as a matter of fact, back when we reviewed Endgame, it might have gotten a 10 for me if that scene wasn't in it.
Yeah, it might have been close.
Especially the way I felt that night, know.
And that is why it is so hard reviewing movies like that, like the night of, because like the hype is fucking real.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this too, I think, with a perfect 10, I think it's not to say that, because I've given 2 10s on the podcast, and they were both very, very recent. So, it's also ironic that I'm sitting here like, oh, they have to kind of stand up to the test of time. Because neither of the things that I gave a 10 have had time for that. They both came out this year, and that was episode 1 of Born Again. And then also, I gave it to the chapter 3 of Andor season 2. And both of those are, we were like a week out from the second one there.
Well, so far they have both withstood the test of time.
Right. But a lot of the things on my list now, I think everything on my list tonight is relatively old, maybe except for one thing. And I think that does kind of go into it too. Is it like 20 years later, can I play the video game or read the book or watch the show and still have it elicit that same feeling for me? Can I take a TV show that captivated me when I was 18, 19 and show it to you and you never seen it before and you're like making the same points that I was, the same things I liked about it then, you now can say you like about it. And,
yes.
I think that all of that has to factor into it as well.
I agree. Well, with that being said, do you want to kick us off?
I will kick us off. I tried to pick a few things from different categories, and I wrote them all down and didn't bring them. But thankfully, there's nothing on this list that's like not in my brain all the fucking time anyway. So I will kick us off with a movie.
Okay.
And I only had 2 movies on my list, and you could probably guess the one, but the one I'm going to start us out with is Jurassic Park.
Oh. The most recent one?
No. No. They don't even make them anymore. They call them Jurassic World now. No, I want to talk about Jurassic Park from 94. Is it?
Or is it 5?
Is it 5? I don't know. You know the one. Jurassic Park. I think that this movie, first off, when it came out, it captured the magic of Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. There was a time, I think, in the early 90s and probably through all of the 90s, right, where CGI and digital filmmaking had not really hit the market. Like, there was some CGI in films, but if you go back and look at, like, the original CGI they use in, like, Fellowship of the Ring in 2001, that shit looks rough. If you want a better example of that, go and find like a fucking DVD or VHS of The Phantom Menace from 99 and look at like how bad the green screen technology and like that sort of stuff looked. So like there was this time period, I think, and I think it probably really stretched from, I'm going to say Terminator 2 Judgment Day until Jurassic Park, where that magic wasn't really there. And it may be here and there, but like I think people started to kind of think like the art of cinema visually had kind of peaked, right? We had Star Wars, we had Terminator, we had Aliens, and like those kind of movies, and like I think for like so many people it was kind of like, can cinema really deliver that magic? And along came Jurassic Park. The puppetry and stuff in this movie looked so real that, I mean, to me in the 90s watching it, it felt like dinosaurs were a real thing. I'm pretty sure this thing gave me nightmares when I was a kid. Oh, yeah. You know, it's like, even going back and watching it now, like, obviously now I'm 38 years old. I can pick out certain details and stuff, but on the whole, man, and especially the fucking raptors, they're so believable.
For me, it was always the T-Rex. Like, when they're in the cave, and the T-Rex head comes in. I mean, the fact that they had like a physical animatronic prop. Yeah. Like, I would be like, can I get a stunt man to stand in here for me?
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to fucking be near that thing. Yeah. Because it was so believable.
It was incredibly believable. And also, Bruce, the shark from Jaws, actually bit somebody. So I definitely wouldn't want to be in the cave with the T-Rex head.
Yeah, I mean, this movie was like, the pacing is perfect in this movie. There's nothing in the movie you could cut. Like, everything that's in the movie had to be in there. There's no fat on it.
There's actual human characters.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is like all of the dinosaurs are like extras, basically. But the dinosaurs sell it, right? Yes. Like the fact that you believe that these things are going to kill them or whatever, that they're really living, breathing things. And the way they have them interact with the cast is so wonderful that you don't realize it when you're watching it. Like there's that whole scene where they find the Triceratops and it's sick. Yeah. And I think it's Alan Grant lays on it and the thing's like breathing and whatever. Yes. And like everybody in the theater thought about like what that would be like. Oh man, I wish I could fucking lay on a fucking Triceratops.
Which is a weird sentence to
say. Yeah. But like just those different things. The writing was incredible. The casting was iconic. I mean, especially your main three characters, with Dr. Grant, Dr. Sadler, and Dr. Malcolm. All of them just, I mean, don't get me wrong. Jeff Goldblum was already big, because of like The Fly and stuff like that. Right. But I mean, he became a megastar after that, to the point where he's like the main character of the second one. It's not on this list. Yeah, I enjoy parts of that movie, but it has major flaws. And the other thing too about Jurassic Park is it has never been replicated. They've tried so hard.
I mean, we can literally count the amount of times that they tried. But then there's also offshoot franchises that have tried as well, Yeah. But you're right, none of them have been able to recapture that lightning in the bottle that is the original Jurassic Park. And you can look at the 2015 Jurassic World and say, well, that's like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. It is, but it's coasting off of the name value.
And the nostalgia.
Yeah.
I mean, they could re-release Jurassic Park in the theaters right now, and it would make 20, 30 million.
Oh, for sure.
In a heartbeat. Yeah. And the other thing about it, too, is like the dinosaurs have never looked as good as they did in 95 or whatever.
Which is crazy.
And a lot of it has to do with, like, it's the animatronics, the way they were shot. I think there's only a little bit of CGI in that movie. Yeah. And it's mainly from where the T-Rex is chasing the Jeep. Yeah. Yeah. And the way that they did that and the kind of camera tricks that they did with it were off the chain, because when you see the T-Rex, it's never up close. When the T-Rex is running the CGI, you see him in the rearview mirror, and it's effective. And then the CGI model does the whole thing where he comes forward and like roars at them or whatever. Yeah. But like when it opens its mouth and everything, that's the animatronic.
Right.
You know? And then they switch real quick to like the wide shot where the tracking shot, the Jeep's coming at the camera. Mm-hmm. And you see the thing like way back in the distance. Yeah. But it's still too close for the characters.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really well done how they hid the CGI back then. Because that thing, the model couldn't have been great.
Absolutely not. It would have looked like a video game.
Yeah, and even then, it probably took them like 2 rooms of servers, like weeks to render that shit.
Yeah. But, you know, like, that's what you did back then, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they it's the perfect blend of, like, good storytelling, but also wonderful special effects and money, you know? And so often, at least one of those ingredients is missing.
The characters and the writing are supported by how good the effects are.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around. Your characters and your writing aren't there in service of the effects. Mm-hmm. You know, the effects aren't what sells it. It's the fact that, like, the dinosaurs are going to fucking kill these characters that you've been made to care about. And they believe it, and so do you.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, this movie to me, I mean, maybe more than any other, has truly like withstood the test of time.
That's a hard one to argue, man. I mean, Jurassic Park is fucking fantastic. Well-deserved movie for a perfect 10.
Yeah, absolutely. What you got, man? Pop off.
Yeah. So let's see. You did the movie here, so I'm gonna hop over here and do. I'll do a video game right quick.
Okay.
I'm actually going to say Mass Effect 2.
Oh, man, I almost put this on my list. And I was damn close.
Yes. You know, Mass Effect 2, I was fortunate enough, right, so that when I came back to Georgia, I had went to GameStop. This was like in December of 2009. So in January, you know, I had gotten a job, and I had January of 2010, I had gotten a job, and I went over to GameStop, and I got like a really cheap used Xbox 360, and I got like a bunch of games that I hadn't played for like dirt cheap. It was like Oblivion and like Fallout 3, you know, and just a bunch of games. And one of those games that I had heard so much about was Mass Effect, also Dragon Age Origins. Got that one too.
You had a treasure trove, bro.
I was so occupied and happy, and it didn't break my wallet. Yeah, I had a treasure trove, but like it was fantastic. And you know, I remember playing through Mass Effect, and when I did, I was like, oh man, like this is a really, really cool RPG. Like I am digging the hell out of this, like more than I thought I would. Like yeah, so sometimes the gameplay on this is a little janky, and you know I hate this goddamn. What's the name of the vehicle?
Oh, the Mako.
The Mako. Oh my gosh.
It was awful.
Yeah.
If you tip that bitch over, it was game over.
It's done. Yeah. But the characters and the story, like all of that, I thought was just so fantastic, and like the choices that you make, they felt meaty and heavy and impactful. And as soon as I beat it, I was like, oh my gosh, this was incredible. When does the sequel come out? The sequel came out in 2010. So I literally, by the time I got around to playing Mass Effect, I only had to wait a couple of weeks, and Mass Effect 2 came out.
You had to do that wait for the third one, though.
I unfortunately had to wait for that fucking third one.
And I remember that wait. That was agonizing.
Yeah, dog. So Mass Effect 2 comes out, and when I say that for me, it was an improvement in every single way. Every single conceivable way. Like, you can argue that they reduced some of the RPG elements, but that was to overall make the gameplay more acceptable for people.
I didn't like that at the time, but then when you play the game,
yeah,
you're like, this was obviously the correct choice.
Yeah, I agree. The story is fucking top notch in this one. The characters are phenomenal, and you know, like and this may be a bit of a hot take, but like these the characters in Mass Effect 2, or in the Mass Effect franchise, I should say, overall are still like my favorite companions in all the video games. BG3 is right fucking there.
I was gonna say it depends on the character for me. But I will say though, there is no ride or die anywhere like Garrus Vakarian. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, it'd probably be like Garrus, the BG3 like main crew, and then right under that would be like the rest of the Mass Effect 2.
But it was just incredible. Like the way that this game looks compared to the first one, it doesn't even seem like the same franchise.
It's so crazy to think like it's different now because Legendary Edition, right? But if you got the original versions of those games and you like just hand them to somebody and be like, these all came out on the same system, you'd be like, what?
Like, there's no fucking way.
Because Mass Effect was early in the 360 life cycle, and then 3 was like late in the 360 life cycle.
Yeah.
I think it had to have been probably like the last full year, maybe before the XB1 came out.
Had to have been.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way that like the story wraps up in 2, you are just so hyped. And this isn't me defending Mass Effect 3, Andy, because it does deserve the criticism that it gets. But there was never going to be any living up to the hype to reach the bar that was set by the ending of Mass Effect 2. You know? And you do so much work to save your companions, you know what I mean, to do their missions, and there's so much lore that's just interwoven all throughout this. It's just an incredible video game, an incredible story, an incredible cast of characters, incredible gameplay. I had to include this on what I consider to be a perfect 10.
Once again, man, I have no argument against that at all. There's nothing I could say that would knock it off that list. I mean, even the DLC for this game is amazing. Like,
I like Kasumi.
I love Kasumi. Yeah. Now, granted, I'm not gonna say that like there's definitely a hierarchy here, just same way there is in Baldur's Gate 3, right? It's like, okay, Liara, Tali,
yes,
and I mean, of course, Garrus, right? They're like the 3, and then if Caden lives for you, Caden is pretty good.
He dies for most people.
I kill Ashley every time because she is a racist.
You know what? That's something I didn't recognize until we did our Legendary review. Remember when we did that?
Same.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, she's racist.
It was a lot. It was a long time. Like, it was when I played back through it. It was before Legendary, but I think a couple years ago, maybe I had been like, fuck it. Like, I had to get over. I played 3, and I had planned to do my Paragon playthrough.
Yeah.
I had a Paragon and a Renegade save all the way through, right?
Nice.
From jump. So when the third one came out, I had my Mass Effect 1 and 2 Paragon save ready to go, and my Mass Effect 1 and 2 Renegade save ready to go.
Yes.
I played through Mass Effect 3 as Paragon, and then I turned that shit off for like literally 5 years. And then the next time when I picked it back up, I was like, man, this bitch is a racist.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it didn't click that way with me in like 2010 or whenever.
No, me either.
But like, it's not
glaring.
like I'm looking for it. No, it's fucking glaring. Like the first time you let her on the ship, she's like, I don't think I trust these guys. And you're like, oh, really? What do you mean? And she's like, these fucking aliens. And I'm like, oh. You know, I guess when I was younger, I was just like, well, maybe she just don't like aliens. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, this isn't good.
Yeah. This is not acceptable.
Right.
Yeah, she's a fucking racist. I used to kill Caden, but now Ashley dies every time.
And I'm trying to think, like, she does, like, get over her racism, right?
I don't think so. I never got that from her story in 3.
I'm trying to think. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she just dies a racist.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, which I mean, it's fine with me. I like the ending to Sinners. Yeah, Mass Effect 2. The reason it's so far up there is like it's a whole game. Mm-hmm. Yes, it serves as a follow up to 1, and if you don't play 1, it is not as powerful.
Yeah.
It also serves as a precursor to 3, but it also feels like its own story. I think the Arrival DLC makes it feel a lot more like a prelude to 3. Mm-hmm. But they dropped Arrival like 2 months before Mass Effect 3 came out.
That's right. Yeah.
And Arrival is still dope as hell.
Yeah.
But it got you so hyped for the third game.
Yes.
And then, well, I'll let you guys play it. But yeah, I mean, dude, Mass Effect 2 is just like, not only did they have that incredible cast back from the first game, right? But they introduced new super iconic characters. Like, by the time you get to 3, like, Grunt is just as important to me as a Caden, if not more.
We get Kai Lang.
Who? But Morden, man, Morden has.
You get him in 2.
Yeah, Morden, to me, his scene in 3, you know the one if you know, is one of the most emotional moments in a video game ever to me.
I had to put the game down for a second after I first played that scene.
I was losing my fucking mind, but then at the end he put that little had to be me. Fucking I was fucking crying, dog. Like
someone else would have gotten it wrong.
Yeah, I fucking I gently set down the controller and just went and sat in silence for a little while. I was like, how much longer do I have in this game? What the fuck else is it about to do to me?
Right. Bro, like I was I was going through like stages of grief, like denial, like maybe I can go back in the previous save file. There's got to be where I can save them.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Have you done a run where like so I did when I finally went back to start playing these, I was like, let me see what kind of bullshit I can do. So have you ever done like what they consider like the hell run where it's like the worst possible outcomes?
Oh my gosh. I've done that up to 2 and I was like, this feels wrong.
Yeah, because like, so they have like where you just don't ever go talk to Garrus in the first game and you like don't get him at all. It was like when you see him in the customs or whatever in the first game, you can literally walk around him and get out and like you don't have to recruit Garrus. You just don't get him at all.
Not even in 2. Like,
no, you still get him as Archangel or whatever in 2.
Yeah.
But like you guys don't know each other.
Oh, that's so wrong.
It's awful. And yeah, like and then in 2 you like maximize your casualties in the mission. So like I think you can get all but like a couple people killed. Like if the Caden or Ashley, whichever one of them lived, they have to live. But you can get Dr. Chakwas killed, most of the crew, almost all of your characters. I want to say that you can't, obviously, like Liara and...
You talking about for 1 or 2? For 2?
For 2, yeah. All right, so like Liara's not with you, so you can't get her killed. She's still in the third one.
Yeah, Ashley's not with you either.
Right. You kill Rex in the first game, so he's not alive at all. So yeah, by the time you get to like the third game... Like it's not Morden, it's some other guy.
Wow.
It's some other scientist because he's dead. He died on the mission.
Yeah.
And then like Rex is not the leader of the Krogans.
You don't have any what do you call them? Bionics? You don't have anyone like Jack or
no, you can get Jack killed, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because they're all. Yeah, that's fucking awful.
Because they have that point where you have to like get like a biotic to like lead the people out. You just pick someone like mad shitty, and then like they can't do it, and like the shield drops, and then like the little things just swarm and kill them all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. You get like and like the last scene or whatever is you on the Normandy, and he walks past all the caskets.
Oh
yeah, it is so awful.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's terrible. But if you just are a big fan of Mass Effect, it's interesting to play through like what if of like the worst case scenario had happened.
Oh my gosh! And then you'd just be stuck with like the worst crew for 3.
Yeah, and then also you also go and back to Earth with like your global readiness like down, and I'm pretty sure that they just wiped the Earth out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because you don't have the Crucible or any of that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, you just go fight the Reapers at like the earliest possible point.
Just get obliterated.
Yeah. But yes, Mass Effect 2, such an incredible game. It made controversial changes. Like the first one is way more of an RPG, and the second one is, I would say, more of a shooter RPG. I won't call it an action RPG because I tend to hate games like that are called that. So. But yeah, man, that's an excellent choice. It very nearly made my list.
What else you got?
Now I'm just sitting here like, BioWare, what happened?
Oh my gosh. Have you played the new Dragon Age yet?
I don't think I'm going to.
You know what's crazy? I have it, but I only have it because they, less than 4 months after release, they put it on like the PlayStation version of Game Pass.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
So I haven't played it yet, but it is technically on my PlayStation.
From what I understand, Expedition 33 is shaming the hell out of both Square Enix and BioWare.
Yeah. I can't wait to like get some time to dig into it.
I got MomoCon next week, and my plan is to come back on Memorial Day. Wake up in my bed and just sit in front of my computer and play the hell out of that all day. I'm gonna put like 8 hours on that to start. I hear it's incredible.
I just feel a little bit vindicated and not crazy because when I first played the game, I said, man, Charlie Cox's character looks a lot like Robert Pattinson, and the internet agrees. So I'm not the only one.
It's like they wanted Robert Pattinson, but he's like real busy.
And they're like, well, we'll just get one of his old roommates.
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I have had it described to me as like if Squaresoft had like not been like merged with Square Enix.
Yep.
And they just kept making great RPGs.
It does feel like we got a glimpse of alternate reality because I had that same feeling when I was playing through it. It was like, what if Soft never merged with Enix, but also what if they migrated from Japan to France? Like that's what it feels like. But it's the few hours that I played of it, it's really good.
Well, I know we might want to bounce around a little bit here, but this is unfortunately the perfect segue to a video game on my list.
Okay.
It actually would be. I have 2 video games, and it would work as a segue to either of them, but. I'm actually going to talk about a 1998 Squaresoft project, and that is Xenogears.
Ooh.
Yeah, have you played this?
I actually haven't.
Listen, I can't really recommend this game enough. I got this game randomly at a movie gallery. This dates it. And this is back, it was in the 5-day rental section.
Yep.
You know?
Okay.
And there ain't no way in hell anybody was beating this shit in 5 days, right?
Yeah.
So I remember playing it. I tried to play it and beat it before we had to take it back. After that first rental, my mom was like, do you want to extend it for another 5 days or whatever? I was like, no. I was like, I want to go to Walmart and buy it. And that's what I did. And let me tell you, I still own my original disc for this game. It was life-changing for me. Like Final Fantasy VII, I'll always credit it as like that's the game that really got me into RPGs.
Yes.
And a lot of people be like, "Oh man, that's the game." Like you weren't. Listen, I've played all of the old stuff, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 1 and 2, 4, 5, 6. Like I actually really love Final Fantasy 5. I have 2 or 3 playthroughs of that game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I fucking love that game. But 7, I was a casual gamer before Final Fantasy 7 came along. And it really got me into the RPG space. It really got me into playing Squaresoft games. I picked up like Saga Frontier. I picked up Chrono Cross, even though after playing Trigger, that shit was very confusing.
Right, and inferior too.
Yeah, vastly.
What about Legend of Dragoon?
Legend of Dragoon. So I was actually going to bring that up. So one of the reasons Xenogears is on my list is like the combat back then was revolutionary because it uses a combo system. So each one of your characters has a set of like combos that you could do. So they had like triangle, square, and X. And triangle was light attack. Square was like a magic infused attack, and then X was your heavy attack. And your characters would have different combinations of these that you could unlock. And once you unlocked it, they would do a special ability. And throughout the game, as your characters level up, you actually get access to more points. So it was like a point system where like triangle was 1, square was 2, and X was 3.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the game, you maybe had like, I think you actually start out with only 3 or 4 points. So if you do X, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Or you can do like triangle, 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 or whatever. And then as the game goes on, you get more and more of those, so you can chain more together and do more combos. I think 7 or 8 is where it caps.
That's a pretty intricate system for gameplay mechanics back then.
It's back then, I was going to say the only other game that had something similar to that was Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah.
And Legend of Dragoon actually came out after this.
That's right.
But Legend of Dragoon had a somewhat similar system. I will say, though, those button presses were hard as fuck back then on those busted-ass controllers.
Bruh.
Like, if you play Legend of Dragoon now, like an emulator or whatever, you'd be like, oh, man, these are easy. Yeah, they are easy to hit on like a fucking DualShock 4 or whatever.
Yeah, back then?
Yeah, with the spring-loaded buttons.
Bruh.
There wasn't no tactile anything back then, man.
You want to hear about a struggle just really quick, just to intervene right quick. I begged my parents to get me Final Fantasy VII when it dropped.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when I got it, and I loved that game. No one gave me the memo that I needed this new thing called a memory card.
Yep.
And I was like, what the fuck? So I restarted Final Fantasy VII 30 times. I had that opening sequence memorized.
Same. I did the exact same thing, dude. I could play through it. I could boot it up right now and not miss anything in Midgar. Because that's about where I could get to is like, I had no memory card, so I would come home from school every day and I would pop the game in and I would play that shit until my eyelids would not stay open.
Yes.
And I could get all the way through Midgar. I think the furthest I ever got was I actually got to the Chocobo farm.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And then, like, by then, man, it was it was on a weekend and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. My fucking PlayStation, like, overheated.
Yeah. That shit would be scorching hot.
It would. You could cook your breakfast on it.
That was the struggle back then. Oh, yeah, I guess another thing for the younger listeners, memory cards were a thing.
Yeah, yeah. The first console that had a hard drive in it, and yeah, this was like an actual hard drive, was the original Xbox.
Yeah.
And it was, if I recall correctly, it was 8 gigabytes. And back then, that was like, oh my God, I can save all this to it. We used to take CDs, which is like a little disc that had music on it, and we would put them in there, and you could rip the music to your console, and then you could use it in like the wrestling games and stuff.
Right. Oh, back in the Disney.
Yeah, craziness. But like this is like way before that.
Right.
But yeah, you used to have a little memory card, or you couldn't save your game. It was busted. Especially because the older consoles before PlayStation were cartridges, and your game saves were on the cartridge.
Yeah.
So it was like, what do you mean I gotta have a fucking memory card?
Right. Like, I just begged for this game. I'm not gonna get a memory card till forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I finally got a memory card, and I was just like, holy fuck. What sucks though is I had one of those fucking Mad Catz memory cards.
Bruh. Mad Catz was so fucking busted.
Yeah. And so when I was playing through Xenogears, man, I made it like, I don't know, 60 hours in, and my fucking Mad Catz memory card fucking corrupted, went bad, the whole thing. So like I had to start it over. And I mean, this game still holds up. Obviously, like the graphics are rough, but especially because Final Fantasy used like a matte background for 7, 8, and not as much in 9, but pretty close. Where it's like the only thing the game had to render was your character model.
Yeah.
Everything else was just a picture.
It was just a picture in the background.
You just cleverly move around on the picture. Mm-hmm. But it worked because like, the shit looked so good. You didn't pick up on it. It just looked incredible. So like Xenogears is like completely 3-dimensional. You can jump. You can rotate the camera all the way around. And it's like they had to render all that shit on the PS1.
Yeah. How's the story in Xenogears?
It is incredible. I mean, to this day, it is hard for me to. It's hard for me to say anything like the story is right up there with BG3, with Skies of Arcadia, with Mass Effect 2, with The Witcher 3. I mean, it's goated. I mean, the thing about the story too is like the story is insanely adult and dark. And the reason that Square Enix has never tried to revive this game, as a matter of fact, they shit on them with the budget. They ran out of money, and the second disc, like, I think the first 15 hours of disc 2, your character doesn't get to run around or anything.
Oh shit!
Like, literally, the different characters, like, they sit in a chair and they kind of talk to you about what happened, and then like you'll go to like that moment, and then you play through it or whatever, like a battle or whatever, and then it goes right back to that, like of them kind of being like, well, and then this fuck shit happened. So you could tell the devs ran out of money, and like there's a ton of stuff that they had to kind of like rush in the second disc, because like the first disc is like 70 hours or some shit like that.
Jeez.
But the story is incredible. I mean, mild spoilers for this 30-year-old video game, but the kind of basis of it is there's this super ancient civilization, and they created this like planet-killing weapon to fight whoever. That humans did human shit, right? And then come to find out, like after that shit was all said and done, and they had wiped out the other people, they were like, we really don't want this thing here. So they put it on this ship called the Eldridge, and they just like sent it out into space. Well, the thing had become sentient by this point, and they really weren't equipped to contain it. So while they're on their space journey to, like, I guess, jettison this thing into the darkest parts of the fucking galaxy, it basically like takes over their ship. And the people who, like, a couple people on the ship knew this was a thing that could happen. So they built like a self-destruct where they could like overload the ship's reactor and like detonate the ship if they had to. So the captain does that. He basically, the thing starts taking the ship over, and he detonates it, and the ship crashes on this barren, uninhabited planet. And this thing basically had it was this big ass creature, essentially, this big ass like synthetic creature, and it essentially had this plan to where it would spawn humans, and based after its creators, right? Like they created it, and then it created them, essentially. And the idea was like, okay, well, I will put all of this. The thing got severely injured by the crash, and so it's like I need to heal myself. So it creates these humans, and he's like, they'll go and repopulate. So the whole plan is basically he's going to wait until the population hits a certain point, and then he can basically summon all of them back to him as his like new body.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And that's like the basis for the story. You don't find out anything about that shit for like the 100-hour mark, really. They show you it happening in the beginning of the game, but you have no idea what you're looking at. Right. You're just like, okay, and then the game starts. You're like, what the fuck does that have to do with what I just saw in the opening? But it's really well done. It handles tons of things really well. Like, two of your main characters have this sort of thing where they're sort of drawn to each other throughout time, and they get reincarnated. So like they basically find each other. They have a life together. Whatever, they die, and then they get reincarnated, and there's a reason for it. One of the characters is like made out of nanomachines, and your main character, like one of his previous incarnations, actually created her.
Oh shit!
And you find her in your lab or whatever, like decades later. But it's really well done. It parodies religion very heavily. Like,
I can see that.
Both the Catholic and the Mormon religions, it really like goes in on them. Shit Square Enix don't want any part of. Yeah. You know. It even goes into like Soylent Green type stuff. Where you find out that like one of the civilizations is like, if you're old or sick or whatever, then you're food for the youngins. Yeah. And also it has giant fucking robots and cool ass anime cutscenes.
That's what I know about Xenogears.
Yeah. Yeah, all of that is on top of the fact that the story is tremendous. It's got a lot of characters and really good character arcs. It covers tons of different things. So to me, I mean, this is a game I play through at least every other year or so. And I actually need to go back and play through it maybe once I get done with Expedition 33. Because I have too many games to play right now.
Yeah, it's a lot going on right now.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. Like, it holds up. It's a PS1 game, but I think you can get it on the PlayStation Store. If not, you can emulate that shit on your PC. But yeah, it is tons of fun. The storyline is still good. I think the only flaw I really could find in it is like, there are some platforming levels, like things that are, it was very early.
PlayStation 1 platforming.
PlayStation 1 3D platforming. So take that as what you will. Sometimes in a giant robot. And so there are some times where that's not great. But all in all, incredible game. I can't say enough like really great things about it. So,
the unfortunate thing is that like, you described this game and it sounds fucking amazing. And on one hand, I'm like, it would be really cool if they could do a remake. But if they did a remake, it would be Square Enix.
Yeah. People have actually talked to me about that a lot. Like, oh man, maybe they'll remake it. And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. Like, if Square Enix were to remake this, they would completely fucking ruin it. They never would though. I forget the guy that actually is like the writer. Mm-hmm. He wrote this whole thing called The Perfect Works, which is pretty fucking arrogant. But it's called The Perfect Works, and like Xenogears, I think, is episode 5 of 6. The Xenosaga games were actually attempts to adapt the early, I think the first 1, 2, and 3 of The Perfect Works. But I think like Square Enix licensed the rights out or something to that company. Monosoft, I think, is who made those. They do make a lot of references to Xenogears in those, but they're more like spiritual prequels than anything. Yeah. Plus, like, their civilization in that is like supposed to be that civilization that crash lands at the beginning of Xenogears. So like that's like 5,000 years before you start to play the game. So Jesus. So it's like so far removed, that
has no bearing really.
Yeah, it's like Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars, the setting is familiar. I get it, like this is a thing that's gonna happen, but like there's no like cameos or anything.
Yeah, how
like
could
that.
there be?
There couldn't be, absolutely. So
sheesh. Yeah, that sounds amazing. It's one of those games where I really wish I had played back in the day. So I think I really would have dug it.
I still think you would enjoy it. Yeah. Just because I know that like you played a lot of games like that back then, and you'll forgive it for its flaws that are purely from the standpoint of like the time period. Yeah. The technical limitations.
Right.
Would I kill for like fucking Larian to make to like make it, or even if like Square Enix like were to, and they would never do this, were to like say, okay, we'll just up-res the graphics and we'll put in like the restored content, like fill out that second disc.
Yeah.
I would be more than happy with that because I love the second disc. There's even a fucking multiplayer battle arena in this game.
Shit.
Yeah, when you get to the end of the game, you can go to this battle arena and you literally there's a whole game within the game. It's a fucking fighting game. Like it reminds me actually of the Tenkaichi games.
Yeah.
And like you can play pretty much any character from the game, and it's actually multiplayer. You can fight against each other.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
That's super well thought out on their part.
It's ridiculous, man. I was like, there had to just be one guy on the development team that like this is all he worked on.
Right.
And then they were like, yeah, man, we're kind of running out of money. He was like, well, shit, I finished this. Throw it in there. And they were like, we could have spent some of this time.
Right.
Like, all right, whatever.
Not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, what you got, man?
All right. Let's see. I'm going to I'll do a comic book here next.
Okay.
Yep. So just for the record, guys, I left off the obvious ones for me. So like Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, God Loves Man Kills, X-Men, like those aren't on here because I've said so much about those.
I had Dark Knight Returns on my list.
Yeah. and rightfully so.
Right, yeah, I mean. But it is cliche, right? It's just like, yeah, well, of course.
Right. Sandman, I'd like, yeah, of course. But instead, I'm going to go for ones that I think are maybe a little bit more surprising, but that I think are just absolutely excellent. So I'll go with the Planet Hulk Omni.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And see, this one right here was a really interesting choice for me because, like, when I was sitting down and I was like, thinking about, what would I consider to be like my perfect stories for anything, video games, movies, television shows, books, whatever. I was looking around and I every time I think about like what's like a top 5 favorite Marvel Omni for me, I'm like, man, Planet Hulk is really fucking good. It's always, no matter how many other books I get, Planet Hulk is always on my list. But I did have written in specifically the Omni. And yes.
Here it is right here.
That is it. And it is gorgeous. And actually, if you open that up, Caleb.
Yeah.
In the very beginning of it.
I actually really like this green here, actually.
It pops so well. But one reason why I love the Omni so much is because the way that it opens up, it doesn't open up with Bruce Banner being shot into space. We all know that happens eventually.
Right.
This opens up with an issue of the Fantastic Four that gives you the reasoning as to why he is eventually shot into space. There's like some kind of nuclear bomb that's being implanted in Las Vegas, and Hulk does his Hulk thing, and he begins like a rampage throughout Las Vegas. Sue and Reed, they are off-road somewhere else doing something else, and it's up to like Ben and Johnny to stop the Hulk because he's going on a fucking tirade.
Ben looks terrible right here.
That is a very bizarre drawing.
It's like Ben Grimm, but his eyebrows are bigger than the whole rest of his head.
Yeah, like he always has like big brows, but that is way
like these brows shield him from the sun and the rain.
Yeah, it's like a built-in
umbrella.
Hat.
Yeah.
That
he doesn't look like that in any of the other drawings.
Any of the other panels, it's just like that one panel. The artist was like, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But what's great is, matter of fact, one of my favorite panels of this is at the end. So obviously we get like the big fights between Johnny, and Johnny actually goes supernova on Hulk, and even that doesn't stop him. And that typically stops damn near everything. And Ben Grimm is one of the few people who can physically try to hang in there with the Hulk, but even that doesn't work. But
is this Gray Hulk? Is that?
Yeah. So this is like a slightly more intelligent version of the Hulk. Yeah, because he's actually speaking and whatnot. But what I love most is at the very end of this first arc here, where we get a scene where like Ben and Hulk are talking because those two always have words.
Yeah.
But it's this conversation here at the very end that really brings it all in here. and it's a conversation between Ben and Johnny, and they're talking about how they were filling in, Sue and Reed as to what happened, and Ben says, yeah, when I was talking to Reed, I made a joke saying, yeah, I don't know how we can ever really protect the world from the Hulk. Maybe we just have to shoot him out into outer space. And Johnny goes, well, what did Reed say? Did he laugh? And Ben goes, actually, no, he didn't. And like it's just a phenomenal kind of like prelude to things to come. And so like the actual shooting him out into outer space doesn't happen until like a ways into the book. You get a lot of content that really goes into explaining why the Illuminati chose to do so, how they got him into the spaceship, and it's all really fascinating stuff. So the Planet Hulk story by itself is tremendous. It's basically Spartacus but with the Hulk. That's the simplest way to describe it. And how could you not fucking enjoy that? It has so much action and drama, and I had the Omni on this list specifically because the Omni is the only version of this story where you get everything that you need for it. So if you just pick up like a trade paperback, it'll pick up with him being shot into space. That's where it starts.
Right.
If you get the Omni, you get the issues of the Fantastic Four. You get the other issues when he's being tracked down by Nick Fury, and Nick Fury sends him on a dummy mission that eventually puts him on that rocket ship that the Illuminati set up. You get the issues with the Illuminati when they're having the meeting as to what they should do. And Namor's like, man, if y'all gonna do that fuck shit, I'm out. Because he's gonna come back, he's gonna be mad. You get all of that with the Omni, and then of course you get the Planet Hulk stuff as well, and then all the tie-ins for that. So it is just it's a tremendous story. And from top to bottom, I think that it's an Omni that, especially if you're a Hulk fan, should read. But I'll put it this way, guys, if that hadn't sold you enough on how good this story is, the Hulk isn't one of my favorite characters. I don't dislike the Hulk. I think he's just fine. But he isn't like in my top 10.
Right, yeah.
You know? But the story is so undeniably good that I would have been doing myself and my collection a disservice by not having it. I've read that Omni a couple times, and it's phenomenal.
I think even people who are huge fans of Hulk, I think it's pretty universal that people really love that Omni and that story in general.
Yes.
Both Planet Hulk and World War Hulk actually are kind of like the goated.
They are
Hulk stories. When I put that back up there the first time, the dust jacket was raised up just a tad, and I was like, no. I was like, that's not going to work. I too have a shelf, and you got to keep that.
Yeah, you got to keep it all. Yeah,
you got to keep that line across the top.
That's right.
Well, that's an excellent choice, man. An excellent story. I wish Marvel had done better with it.
Well, that could potentially come up again with another one I have. But
yeah, they left that shit on the table.
Yeah.
I'm gonna segue directly into one of mine with that actually. I'm gonna talk about a novel. Mm-hmm. You knew this was coming. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna talk about Words of Radiance. This is to me. So this is a Brandon Sanderson book. No shock to anybody there. Let me see what the actual. I think it's about 10 years old because we just got the leatherbound for it.
Do you have that one in leatherbound?
I do. I wish I had brought it actually because it is gorgeous. I actually got it on the Kickstarter for it, of course.
Oh, nice.
Because I was like, there ain't no way.
Yeah.
Like I have the first one, and like I like this one even more than the first one. So
those leatherbounds are gorgeous.
They really are. This came 2014 is when this came out. It has the highest rating on Goodreads of any work of fiction.
Wow.
Anywhere. It averages, I think, like a 4.85 or something out of 5. Yeah. And with like thousands and thousands of reviews. So you're asking yourself, what? Okay, well, I've heard about Brandon Sanderson and his 40 million books sold and all this shit, and like that there's like 95 books. You might have even heard that from me. How can I read Words of Radiance? Well, Words of Radiance, you actually can read just a nice, calm 1,100 pages to get into it. It is the second book in the Stormlight saga. It's the sequel to A Way of Kings. Why do I have this book on my perfect 10s list? Why is it a perfect 10 to me? Number one, I think it's a perfect sequel. Like, to me, there's nothing that the first book does that this book doesn't do better. And it's very hard to take something that is so beloved like that, like Way of Kings, and I think there is a decent argument in the fandom about which one is better. And the people who think it's Way of Kings are wrong. And that is their God-given right.
Yeah, they can be wrong if they want to.
They can be wrong if they want to. It's an excellent work of fiction. But it would be like if Lost World had come out and it was better than Jurassic Park in every way. You know what I mean?
The differences can't be that disparaging,
though. Between these two books?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it would be like there's so many instances in all of art, right, where like the sequel is just inferior to the original.
Right.
And I never felt that way about this. As a matter of fact, Words of Radiance, it benefits from, like, A Way of Kings has damn near 600 pages of world building at the beginning. And that's not to say there's not plot there with it, but the plot is in service of the world building.
Yeah. Because
Roshar, the planet that this takes place on, is not really like Earth. So you've read Mistborn, and you know that despite some story-driven environmental differences, it is very much similar to Earth, whereas Roshar is nothing like Earth. And so the cultures in this world are so different than the cultures that we have here. And the lore here is so rich and thorough, to the point that it needs that, right? And once you are so steeped in the lore and you understand all of these things, then the story really kicks off. And that shit starts to happen about halfway through Way of Kings, where they're like, okay, you understand it all now, let's fucking go. Yeah. Well, Words of Radiance doesn't have any of that. Literally, we pick up from the last pages of Way of Kings, and we go right into Words of Radiance. And they can just hit the ground running from the start. Oh, yeah. And Sanderson also was so confident in his story that there's so many things he held off on from the first book that he can bring forth in the second book. So, for instance, arguably the two main characters, or at least two of the three main characters in the first book, they don't meet each other at all until the second book. Oh. They never cross paths at all. So, and when they do meet, one of them does steal the other one's shoes. But the way that he just sort of expands on all of the lore and the story and brings forth new characters while still giving plenty of screen time to the old ones, and like the way all that is just so balanced out, expanding on the themes and also the action, right? I mean, you know how good his fight scenes are. Yes. There's no pictures there, but he doesn't need them.
He paints such a perfect picture.
Yeah, you're damn sure, like, in your head, you know exactly what the fuck is happening. Yep. And he's right on the money with that here too. So really, to just expand on all of that, to go further into that rich lore and history, and really make these characters kind of stand out. And also take your secondary characters in the first one and elevate them without shitting on any of the main characters. It's a masterclass, right? I consider it his best work. There are things that have come close because, you're like, oh, well, I mean, if his best work was in 2014, you know what I mean? It's like he's written like 40 books since then. Are those inferior? No. I mean, he doesn't really miss.
Yeah.
But to me, so far, this is the best thing he's written.
Yeah. That is impressive. And actually, I didn't know what your favorite Sanderson work was.
Ah, well, here we are. Yeah, it's the second Stormlight book. Hell, I would even like Hero of Ages is a top 5, and it's going to be hard to ever knock it out of that because the way that he wraps all that up is just like, it's really difficult in this day and age with as much media as you and I consume.
Yeah.
To hit me with an ending that I didn't see coming, and after I read it, realized it was perfect.
Yeah.
It's like it couldn't have been any other way, but yet I still didn't see it.
Yeah.
That's hard to fucking do, man.
It is.
That is masterful. Yeah, man. I gotta put this one on the list, and it has moments in it that I get chills like just thinking about. To this day, I mean, I think there's a scene in the book, and I don't want to spoil anything for those of you out there that might want to read it, but there's a scene in the book where Kaladin and one of the other characters, Kaladin comes to their rescue, and it's very unexpected, and it's a line that's been quoted not only by Kaladin himself in the most recent book, but all throughout the fandom. It's such an incredible scene. Everybody loves it. There's an alternate reality meme where like Kaladin has a skateboard and sunglasses. It's just this whole thing. But the thing about that scene that really clicks with me is the guy he saves. Kaladin's a slave, and the guy that he saves is like the son of like a high lord, whatever. He's the most uppity, noble, whatever in this society that you can get. So polar opposites of the caste system.
Yeah.
And Kaladin has every reason in the world to just let him get killed. I mean, he has no real reason to save this guy other than that, number one, of course, it's the right thing to do, but Kaladin is a windrunner, so one of his oaths that he has sworn is that, that he's a protector, and he will protect those that can't protect themselves. And so he saves them, and immediately after he saves them, he does some fuck shit that you can't do as a slave in their society, and gets put in prison. So immediately after he saves this guy, they immediately throw him in jail. And the guy that he saves, the High Lord or whatever, he actually demands that they put him in the cell next to him. And he stays there until he's released. And I just love that, the powerful moment there between the two of them. So,
damn.
Yeah.
Well, I figured now is probably going to be like the most fitting time, but I had Mistborn, The Final Empire.
Nice. I did not expect this.
Yeah.
So book one.
Book one.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, back when we did the review of the trilogy, which, by the way, you guys can go check that out.
Yes. It's a two-parter.
Yeah, it is.
It's a twofer.
It's a twofer.
We probably could have done it as 4, but...
Yeah, could have. But yeah, back when we wrapped it up with the, when we discussed like the whole trilogy, quadrilogy if you include
Secret History,
yeah, Secret
and
History.
We do.
And even then, I said that Hero of Ages I thought was fucking phenomenal, but there was still a part of me that enjoyed Final Empire even more. And I think it was because of, we always talk about how the sequel has the harder job typically in storytelling.
Yes.
And it does. But there are also certain downsides for the first. The downsides being you have to establish this world. You have to establish the rule sets of this universe. You have to establish who these characters are. You have to establish who the bad guys are. You have to establish what the goal is. You have to do all of this building.
Yeah.
And that can be taxing. You know, it can take away from the pacing. It can take away from, from the action. It can do a lot that's detrimental to the story.
And you have to do all that and not lose the reader.
Yeah, exactly. But that never happens here. Not only does it never happen, but it all feels so cohesive, and it all feels like everything gels together here.
Yeah.
So the way that the characters are presented, and the way that the world is being presented, and everything from the pacing to the type of magic system that we have here, is all very fascinating, and more importantly, it's also all very fleshed out. So, like just for an example here, the common joke, that comic book fans used to make about various superheroes, Doctor Strange used to be my favorite one from back in the day. When people would ask me, what can the Eye of Agamotto do? I would say, whatever the fuck you needed to do. Because, Doctor Strange would get passed from, writer to writer, and they'd be like, well, no one has a defined definition of what it could do for the longest time, and then they finally put parameters on it. But anyways, I say all that to say that Sanderson here with his magic system has the barriers very much in place for what the magic system is and what it can and can't do. And because of that, it allows him, or it helps him, to write such masterful fight scenes using this type of magic system. And there's balances at play here. What I think you can definitely consider the two main characters, Kelsier and Vin, are absolutely great characters, and we get to see Vin grow as we learn more about Kelsier, and it's just a tremendous dynamic that happens there. Like by the time like the story has wrapped up, obviously you're saddened at the death of Spoiler if you haven't read this. You're excited because they have toppled the presumed big bad, but then you're left with this kind of pit in your stomach, this kind of wonderful anxious feeling. What was that morbid comment there at the end? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
and so it really leaves you wanting to see where the story goes next, and how can this thing continue on from here, because this is so excellent. And then it does. The story just goes on and becomes something that's even bigger and grander. So I think that the Final Empire is like a phenomenal opening of something, a phenomenal introduction, and it is a tremendous story all in its own right. So I had to put that on the list.
That is awesome that you have that on there, and also that it's Final Empire. I respect that, man, for real, because I think a lot of people, it would be Hero of Ages, and it is for me. But I really love Final Empire as well for all the reasons that you said, and there's also a reason why I send everyone there first. I have a big old long reading order. If anybody would like it, leave a comment. I'd be happy to give it to you. And I start everybody with Mistborn. And there's a couple places you can start Sanderson. You can start with Final Empire. You can start with Way of Kings. You can start with Trust of the Emerald Sea. And you also could start with Elantris. The reason I don't start anybody in those places is varied across the board. One of those reasons is because trying to tell somebody, hey, I want you to start this series, and handing them Way of Kings, like, here's a cool 1,100 pages. No investment, you just... that's tough, man. It's a tough sell. Mm-hmm. But if I can hand you this novel, and, I tell people all the time, like, there are some Sanderson fans out there that... I hate the English covers for this. I hate them. I don't feel like this cover actually tells you shit about what's going on in this book.
It's like, having read the book, it makes perfect sense. But, at the time, it's like, okay.
It looks like something that would be on like the Sistine Chapel or something. You know what I mean? And but there are people that that only like Stormlight, that are big Stormlight fans and don't really care for Mistborn, but I think that's a very tiny version of the fandom. Most people, I hand them this, and I'm like, you're gonna fall in love with Vin, and she's such an easy character to fall in love with, and I think that's why it's the perfect starting point.
Yep. Agreed.
Don't get too attached to anybody in this book, though. This book, the one after it, the one after that.
Oh shit! It is technically your turn.
Oh yeah, that's true. Where do I want to go here? I guess we can drift over to an obvious one. I'm gonna go with the TV show.
Okay.
You know what's coming. I have to put the Shield on here.
Yep. I had a feeling.
This is a show that I was referencing earlier when I was like, I watched the show when I was like 18 or 19, and it captivated the shit out of me. And for me to be able to show it to people who are my age now, 20 years later, and them to feel the same way or similarly about it, just is really a testament to how good it is. Now, you might have heard of The Shield. You maybe never saw it on like Netflix or anything like that. And I think that's to its detriment.
It should be on Netflix.
It really should. It is one of the most underrated shows of all time. And it's so unfortunate because I think if this show had come out maybe 5 years later, or if it had been on a different network, because FX was small back then, because this was FX before Walking Dead, right?
Oh, it was AMC.
Or right, yeah, that was AMC. So
I was gonna say like it should have been on AMC 5 years later.
Yeah,
and I mean, because then it would have been right there with the Breaking Bad craze.
It would have been gangbusters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was on FX in the early 2000s. All your premium TV was on HBO, Showtime, Stars.
Yep.
You know, there really wasn't. I mean, like Lost was on at the same time. That's what they were churning out on network television, and that was considered this huge event. You know, and that was on fucking CBS. Like, you didn't have to have cable.
Yep.
And The Shield, man, it pressed what you could put on cable TV. I mean, like the amount of skin you could show was pressed. Early 2000s, showing non-straight couples on TV, that was not really a thing that happened. This show did it. You know, hell, I mean, this was even before, like, I think the concept of like an anti-police sentiment or like commentary on police brutality was something that you would see a lot of. I mean, yes, it was post Rodney King and OJ and all that stuff, but I mean, it was way before any of the more modern examples of that, where you had like a national, I guess, movement or reaction to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this show is about some crooked cops in some very crooked, mostly white cops in a heavily minority section of L.A. In the early 2000s, and it just pushed the envelope, man, in every which way.
And, you know, not to spoil anything here, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen the show, but like what really stuck out to me was the show. First of all, it was tremendous all the way through, and it does have a through line. You know, like it's not just a what are we doing this week type of show. You know, like there is a through line, and it is fascinating to see. And that through line begins in episode 1. And, and you know, the first time watching it, like, you may not think that much about it, but it certainly comes back in a huge way. But I think, like, one of my biggest takeaways from this show, and like one of the things that I think is just fascinating about it, is you begin this show all throughout, in the back of your mind, subconsciously, you're thinking, this is a show about crooked cops who are astray, but they have hearts of gold. And then you realize that they're fucking evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like just like that finale, man, it is tough.
Yeah, the thing about The Shield, I think, that separates it from so many other shows is like how hard it sticks the landing. Mm-hmm. If the ending had been anything other than what it is, I don't know that this show could be on like the greatest ever list. I don't know if it'd be on the list here today, but it sticks the landing so well. It might jump through a couple of hoops to get there, but that finale, there's no way anybody watched it when it came out and didn't feel like that was the perfect ending for the show, really, or at least a great ending.
Absolutely.
And so many of these big shows, like, they don't do that, right? Like, you look at Game of Thrones, and how badly they pulled the landing off. People hate the ending to Sopranos. What's the show about the serial killer? Dexter. They've done retried to make that ending like 4 times now, and they fuck it up more every time.
I keep telling myself I'm gonna go back and rewatch Dexter. I haven't seen it in years now.
Yeah, those early seasons I've seen like maybe the first 2 seasons, and like they were really intriguing.
Oh yeah.
And there's just like, I mean, even to me, like. To me, I don't even know that, like, Breaking Bad is my other TV show on my list.
Yep. And
I don't know that it sticks the landing as well as The Shield. Maybe, like, if you include El Camino as well. But I feel like they left a lot of stuff unanswered. Like, obviously, the way that Walt's story ends is perfect. But I feel like that finale... It doesn't really bring you full circle on anybody else but him,
Yeah, I mean, well, at that point, like, if we look at, like, well, Hank's dead.
Right,
and,
yeah.
Marie, like, all due respect, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, and we did get some closure on her in Better Call Saul.
Yeah, that we do. And we get closer on Saul in Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
But no, I think that the show is a tremendous pick, and I had a gut feeling that would be on your list.
Yeah, anybody that's known me for any period of time knows I swear by this show. It's such a good character study.
Yes,
I mean, on the surface, you're like, okay, this is just a really well written cop show, and it is also that, but that's never what this show actually is. It is a very in-depth character study, and it's also a social commentary on the way that neighborhoods, specifically minority neighborhoods, are policed.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is, and it's just it's so fascinating for me because you look at like what you could call like your 4 main cops who you get, and you're like, oh man, who has the best outcome here? And it's like, well, none of them.
The one that dies, probably, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's saying something because that was not a fun death.
No. I will say, too, like, this show addresses a lot of things. It's like, in the first season, we have our crooked-ass cops, and there's somebody even higher up in the chain of the police force who is looking at it and going, well, they're delivering results, so I don't give a fuck what they do. Yeah.
Yep.
And then they get rid of that guy, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, we're trying to rein them in, but we're ineffective at that too. And at the end of the day, the higher ups above them are like, well, if as long as we calm down the public, we really aren't going to do anything about it either, because now we don't want egg on our face to where all this shit was happening under our noses. And then it's like, okay, well, what if we like actually got some honest to good people in here who would try to clean all this shit up? And they show you what happens then too, because then either like the system will work against them. There's just too many people and systems that are in place to prevent them from being able to actually do what it would take to clean the shit up. So they hit you from all different angles with like the different possibilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, that's such a tremendous pick, man. And yeah, I had a blast watching that show.
It's so good, man.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker.
Oh man. And, it's just another day.
It's just another day. They could fix that volume leveling, though. They did that shit.
It's
on purpose.
intentional.
It is 100%. All right, man, you're up.
Next on my list, I'm also going to go with a TV show here. My TV show is probably obvious in hindsight for those of you watching. Batman the Animated Series.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bring that down, but you probably can see it here behind us. I don't want to get my fingerprints on it.
So carefully.
This is an irreplaceable relic.
It really is. I don't know if you guys can see it from here or not, but this is an autographed edition gifted to me from the homie Caleb himself of Batman the Animated Series, and it is signed to me by Kevin Conroy, Batman himself.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Yeah, this is a phenomenal TV show.
It really is, man. And like, considering that this was a fucking Saturday morning cartoon for children.
Yeah. And they didn't have to go that hard, but they did anyway. So the reason why this show is on my list is because so many elements of who Batman is today is because of this show. Like so many different ways that Batman has been portrayed is because of this, and including his characters. Obviously one of the most famous examples is the Heart of Ice episode where they introduced Mr. Freeze, and before the animated series, Mr. Freeze, he was just a bad guy with a cold gun who liked to rob places because he could do it. He had a cold gun.
Captain Cold from the CW, basically.
Basically.
Yeah.
But they decided that they were going to put a spin on this character. And now he's this tragic figure. And he's been that ever since then because it's such a compelling story. And this animated show doesn't shy away from things like that. They introduce us to characters who have become iconic, no matter how annoying they may be, like Harley Quinn. And this is still the best version of Harley Quinn. It's in this animated show when she was created. We get just so many different and wonderful, cool episodes that, aren't even just action focused, but you get to see Batman be the superhero. You get to see him be the detective. You get to see him be the vigilante. You get to see him be the billionaire. You get to see him be the Dark Knight. But along the way, you get to see his relationships with Alfred, how he interacts with the likes of Catwoman or Commissioner Gordon. There's all these intricate layers and all these intricate characters that none of it feels like it should be a Saturday morning cartoon, because none of it is that surface level like a traditional Saturday morning cartoon. It's all so layered here, and it's all so damn entertaining. As a matter of fact, just last year, the homie Kevin rewatched the entire series just for the fuck of it, because why the fuck not? It's that good. But no, I really love this series for other reasons as well. The animation style is so unique. This was animated primarily on a black backdrop, which was pretty uncommon with animation back in the day. But because so much of the show takes place at night, they figured that's probably the best approach. And it looks visually so different from other TV shows of its time because of that animation style. So, yeah, I just think that this is a phenomenal show. And I already mentioned the Heart of Ice episodes, but there's other very famous episodes as well. Another one of my favorite ones is the Clayface episode. Talk about shit that can give you nightmares.
Yeah.
But also making Clayface, Basil Carlo, a sympathetic character as well, like a failed actor who thought he was given this chance to maybe revitalize his career, using the skin cream, maybe make himself look a little bit younger, and then it fucks him up and turns him into John Carpenter's The Thing. But that was a tremendous episode with a tremendous conclusion. Batman beats him by taking him into a room full of TVs and showing Clayface all of the performances that he's done over the years. And his psyche just can't take it. And I remember when I was like, 6 or 7 years old watching that episode, it was intense for a kid. And then on a more lighthearted note, another one of my favorite episodes was when all of the villains are sitting around playing cards, talking about the time that they almost got the Batman.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's a great one.
I remember watching that one as a kid, and like it came on, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And then you're like, can't stop watching it. It's a great episode.
That's a phenomenal episode. And I love like when it gets to Killer Croc, and they're like, "Well, Croc, what's your story?" He goes, "Yeah, one time I almost hit Batman with this rock," and they're like, "Is that it? That's the story?" And after the awkward pause, Killer Croc goes, "It was a really big rock." But then, like the big reveal, I guess, spoiler alert for this 35-year-old TV show, it's not Killer Croc, it's Batman in disguise, and he just takes them all down at that point.
Yeah,
and great fucking episode. And then, of course, this has to be said, the voice acting is among the best that you'll ever hear.
Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Tara Strong, they all kill it.
Yes.
This is iconic as hell, man. I'm glad this is on your list. It's to the point where, like, the Sega Genesis game, Batman game that came out around this time, borrowed so heavily from the show. Even those two big ass statues with like the cogs or whatever, that's a boss fight in that game. Yeah, that game was hard as fuck.
Oh yeah.
But this even spawned the Batman Beyond show, which a lot of people really love. It's not my cup of tea, but there's a significant portion of the fandom that really loves that as well. There are people that, that's their favorite Batman.
Yeah.
Is Terry McGinnis.
Yep.
But obviously, like the contribution of Harley Quinn. A lot of people be like, "Oh, Harley Quinn from the comics, blah blah," and I'd be like, "Bitch, she's not from the comics."
Right.
Like, she's in the comics, but that's not her origin.
Right.
When you talk about Harley Quinn character integrity, you got to look to Batman the Animated Series first and foremost.
Absolutely.
She's incredible in that.
Yeah.
Tara Strong does an incredible job. Obviously, Mark Hamill's Joker is iconic. I mean, we can sit here all day long and talk about, Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson or whatever, but if you're going to talk about, like, the goated Joker, you have to have Mark Hamill in the conversation.
Absolutely.
So there's so many just incredible lines that he delivers here. To the point where Hamill plays Joker in a lot of the video games and a lot of the animated movies that DC put out.
Yep.
The two of them, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, just work so flawlessly together. And also the camaraderie between the two of them, because they're such good friends as well.
And that just helped them to get even better at the roles over the years,
Yeah.
Like, you played the Arkham video games, man, and it's like, it feels like home, because you're hearing these same voices from these same characters that you've known for decades now.
I think is it Conroy? It is them in the Dark Knight Returns adaptation, right?
No, actually.
In the movie?
No. It's Peter Weller, RoboCop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Does Bruce.
Yep. And who does...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about this because this Michael...
Yep, from Lost.
From Lost, yeah. Uh-huh. Both of them really ape Conroy and Hamill in those performances.
They do.
The one line that he delivers in that always hits me is, like, to the point where you think it was Kevin Conroy saying it, is where he's like, there's nothing wrong with Joker that I can't fix with my fists.
Yeah.
and like you could just tell he definitely studied Conroy.
Yes.
For that line, because when he delivers that line, it damn near sounds like Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, it really does. I always go back to like actually Arkham Asylum, which obviously was like the first game of its kind, like the first super in-depth kind of superhero game like that.
Yeah.
In that kind of action genre. When it starts off, you are walking down the corridors of Arkham Asylum and you have Joker in tow, and they put him on like this fucking Hannibal Lecter, strapped down to this like contraption so he can't go anywhere. And I think they're like in the elevator or something. And all of the power goes out, and then like the music starts to swell, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And like the GCPD, they're all freaking out and everything. And then like when the power comes back on, Batman has Joker like by the throat, so he can't go anywhere. And Joker, he barely gets out. What's the matter, Bats? Don't you trust me? Like just the delivery of that line and that entire scene, it just felt like those two had been doing it forever, and they had been.
That scene where he what is it? He fights whatever that big roided out Joker henchman is or whatever.
Yeah.
And you beat him, and then you're like, oh, cool, I'm gonna get up here or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Harley fucking just hits the shit out of him with the hammer and like knocks him down. And like the way that like that scene plays out, I've always thought was like peak of the three of them. Yes. I love that scene.
Same.
It also pissed me off so bad when I first, played it or whatever.
That's like when I played Arkham Knight. The scene that gets everybody, like you just swinging around and you grapple up to the top of a random building and fucking Man-Bat pops out. I'm like, God damn it, man. Who programmed this shit? But yeah, Batman the Animated Series, folks. Definitely had to be on my list.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. One second here.
You say we do one more each?
One more each, yeah. I'm going to circle back around. I did have... The Prestige was the other movie I had on my list, but that's not what I want to do.
I had that one on mine as well.
I've got to circle back around to video games. We mentioned this one, Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh.
Probably the most recent thing on my list.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, there was a time where I thought that maybe video games would never get to the point that they once had for me. Like, from Final Fantasy IX on, and then going into like Mass Effect, right? And I think the luster of Mass Effect is so heavily tarnished by the way the third game ends.
Yeah.
And then the fucking Andromeda nonsense. Where it's like, Mass Effect 2 is still goated, obviously, from what we talked about here tonight. But man, the franchise itself has had so much damage done to it. I thought maybe video games like had kind of peaked because in this day and age, and especially like 5 years ago, man, so much of what the AAA game industry was pumping out was just bottom of the barrel, lowest common denominator, just slush, right? I mean, like games that were heralded as being these excellent video games, like I don't want to shit on this genre, but I'm going to, is like the Souls-likes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Elden Ring is the absolute best of them, and I think it's overrated as fuck. Like, and it's easily the best of them. Like, it's straight downhill from there, I'd say, to like maybe Bloodborne, and then just...
Yeah, you and I are on an island with that, it seems.
Yeah.
At least if you look on the internet.
Yeah. And honestly, man, I think that the reason those games are so successful in this day and age is because they generate content for streamers.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Because they are so impossibly hard, and most of them are difficult just because the controls are shit.
Yeah.
But I will say this about Elden Ring, like the art and the world design are bar none. I mean,
Absolutely.
the gameplay is just trash to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the world, because I have the game, I never beat it, but it's like the world is so beautiful. I wish I had, like, the determination to play it.
Right. I wish any of it meant anything to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I would love to explore it, but I'm not.
Right. And like, that's where video games are going. I mean, and I'm going to shit on another set of games that are very popular. It's the fucking Cal Kestis games. Fucking
the Star Wars Fallen
Order and
the other one,
Jedi Survivor. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Listen,
those
fuck
games in particular, or those type of games.
Those two games. Fuck those games. Like, they're just like the Souls-likes. They're just Star Wars versions of them, basically.
Yeah.
But they're so bottom of the barrel. Like the fucking skill tree is LOL. It's just there to give you the illusion of upgrades, but like your gameplay doesn't really change. You never feel like this powerful Force user. It's just another Souls game, but with a Star Wars skin on it.
That is true. And
I really, couldn't stand that. You have BioWare putting shit out like Anthem, and games coming out that cost $70 and are 20 hours long, and
well, and you have, God, and I hate to say this, man, but like, we have so many games now that the content is so limited, but you can pay extra money to get bottom of the barrel content. Whether that content just be fucking skins or weapons or, whatever the case may be, but like none of it is actual content. You and I and a lot of the people listening grew up in an era where like a video game was a piece of art.
Yeah.
And like it had, it had stories and had intentions, and like it had something to keep you hooked. But as time went on, like video games just became almost more like a chore. Like, let me log into fucking Destiny and do my dailies.
Yeah.
Instead of it being something that you wanted to do, it became like an obligation. If you pay a little extra money, you can get a little bit more of an advantage on the other guys.
Yep. And they want to keep you engaged and draw as much money out of you as possible. So it's like these games are just investments to these companies now. They're not art. It's like, how can we drive this player to experience FOMO? How can we keep the most number of people engaged for the longest amount of time and get the most amount of money out of them? It's multiplayer content. So like the developers can build out shit, and then the players basically design the content themselves.
Yep.
And there's nothing against those type of games, like, but now they'll come out with a game like Destiny or whatever, and like it's $70, and then you had to pay all these expansions and shit, or even a game like Counter-Strike comes out now, or like Call of Duty, right?
Yep.
Back in the day, man, when Half-Life came out, Half-Life 2 came out, and like it has its game of the year. The story is incredible. The gameplay is incredible. It was, in my opinion, one of the most revolutionary video games of all time. But it also had a multiplayer component, and Counter-Strike was part of that, and Team Fortress Classic or Team Fortress 2 was part of that. And it was like you got all this stuff with the game, and like it was all like just layered on top of that, and each thing would be awesome. But like if they came out with that today, each different piece of it would be $70 or whatever.
Absolutely.
And I say all this to wrap back around to Baldur's Gate 3, because this game feels like from the care standpoint, like it did come out in the like early 2000s, late 90s, right? When video games were still art.
Yep.
The developer isn't trying to nickel and dime you. They don't put shit in the game to keep you playing it just to play it. There's not a single piece of AI generated bullshit slop content in there at all. Nothing in this game feels like I'm just monotonously doing tasks just to do them.
Right.
Everything feels incredible. The characters, I mean, the side characters in this game, holy shit, like to the point where I think this is the first time in a video game, other than maybe The Last of Us, where the voice actors became famous because of a video game.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knew who the fuck Jennifer English or Neil Newman or any of those people were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They'll tell you as much. Like, I think it was Shadowheart who said, like, when the game was in early access, she had gone to a convention, and it was a 3-day convention, and she had 26 people come to her table throughout the entire 3 days. Nobody knew who she was.
Yeah.
Fast forward that to Dragon Con last year, where they had to move the Baldur's Gate 3 cast into their own room because you were waiting 2-3 hours just to spend 5 minutes with them.
Yes.
And Neil especially, people were losing their shit. They're all super famous now. 2 of them are in Expedition 33.
Yep.
And that game is advertised as like, hey, look, these people are in it.
Yeah.
You know?
And we got Daredevil.
Yeah. Come the fuck on. It is, I mean, if you're just looking at it by the numbers, it's the greatest game ever made. It's the only game to ever win every single major game of the year category in the same year. That's never happened. So I think it was like the DICE Awards, the VGAs. There's another major one, but there's like 5 different ones. And like one of them is like, you know, Gamer's Choice, like people vote on it. The other one with the VGAs are like people in the industry. The DICE ones, I'm pretty sure is only developers are made up of like the people that choose that. So like their peers said, this is the best game, you know?
And I am so glad that so many people recognize the excellence that is BG3, because it's also on my list as well. But but it's like the better that this game does, the more of a black eye it puts on the industry, like specifically the bloodsuckers in the industry.
They shamed the shit out of them, man, because not only did they come out with a product that made all their games look like what they are, they fucking made more money than they did doing it, where it was just like, you know, you guys can actually just make a fucking great video game and people will be lining up to buy it from you. And the other thing too is like, they don't have any fucking skins they're selling or any of that shit. If I look on Steam right now, there's at least 100,000 people playing this game.
Oh yeah.
And like, there's no FOMO bullshit to keep them doing that. They're just playing it because it's that fucking good and they love it.
Yeah.
I have over 500 hours on this game, and
Same.
and it would not hurt me at all to do another 6 playthroughs. You know what I mean? I just don't have fucking time. But and not only that, but Larian released a damn near perfect product, and then they've done nothing but improve on it since then. For free, yeah. And here's the thing too: not only did Larian make a shit ton of money, the developers all got paid. Like, they actually paid their employees. Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't you know that? Because, like, I mean, even some of the, like, the more bigger, just world-renowned studios weren't really paying some of their people the way they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, I love Rockstar, but their people didn't really get paid the way they should have for, like, GTA 5 and Red Dead. Not for the amount of work they did.
And the amount of money that they made.
They made so much fucking money.
Yeah.
What was the other? Naughty Dog with The Last of Us 2. The reason why they had those horrible leaks in the first place is because they had disgruntled employees. Those guys were working like fucking devils, not getting paid right.
I hate to throw them in here, but you know, I love you guys, but you did some bad shit. CD Projekt Red, man. Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red was during the first 3 Witcher games was so much like Larian.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, these guys care about gamers and they're going to put out a quality product and it's going to be complete. And, Witcher 3 had DLC, but holy shit, man. It was like the DLC be like 20 hours long.
Yeah, those weren't even those were expansions.
And they were great.
Yes.
But, they got greedy and they rushed. They made a bunch of bad decisions regarding Cyberpunk.
Yep.
They announced it too early. They rushed it out. And I mean, yes, eventually they did fix it, but they could have waited 2 more years on Cyberpunk, put out the game we have right now, and not tarnish the shit out of their reputation.
Yeah, put out the game they have right now and not lie about what was going to be in the game in the first place.
And they shit all over their developers too, because there was a ton of crunch. Like a lot of them were working like mandatory, like 60-hour weeks.
Jesus.
And, then you guys forced them to put out a product they weren't ready to put out, just so that you guys could make, whatever company number. And there you are. So I hope that they've learned from that. And I hope that, too, that Larian never goes down that pathway.
They're on shaky ground. They're still not on completely solid ground with me yet.
Agreed.
So like they're at an impasse right now, I would say, and then hopefully they get back on the straight and narrow, because they went from being like the industry darlings for me to being like, oh, you guys are just trying to be like all the other guys.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, like there's a disturbing trend when it comes to stellar RPGs, right? Over the years, where it's like, okay, you had Squaresoft, goated, right? They were the ones, and also right behind them was Bethesda,
Absolutely.
And then Squaresoft merged with Enix, big fucking corporate conglomeration, and they fucking fell off. Bethesda, they kept churning stuff out, but then here, while all that was going on, here came BioWare, and here came Obsidian, and then Bethesda fucking fell off, and then BioWare fell off. Obsidian has actually managed to avoid this fucking curse somehow. Even though they got bought out by Microsoft and everything, they are still putting out just
they're putting out
great
content.
Avowed is probably not is not a 10 out of 10, but it's a solid 8. I mean, it's still a great game. And Obsidian has never really made the ginormous games anyway. They've always made the medium-sized games that just had great quality. New Vegas is that. KOTOR 2.
What's the Outer Worlds?
Outer Worlds. The second one of that's coming out. They just got a great library, and it's always solid. I mean, even what's the multiplayer game that they did? The Honey I Shrunk the Kids game or whatever.
Oh yeah. They did that, huh?
Yeah, that's them. Yeah, and it was like way out of their wheelhouse, but they still killed it. That game was great, and I'm a big fan of the survival game. I can't remember what the fuck that game is called.
I can see it, but I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, it's like a clever, but it's really good. And then so it's like all those fell off, and then you had the rise of like, for instance, CD Projekt Red. Here they come, and then they fell off. So I really keeping my fingers crossed that Larian doesn't go into this shit. We have Sandfall Interactive that they made Expedition 33, and they're now coasting off of that. So at least if CD Projekt Red, and Larian, they take that nosedive, then we got Sandfall
until the next new hotness comes along.
But it's a disturbing trend, man. It's like you get successful, a big ass corporation buys you up, they won't let you make what you were making, and then it goes to shit. Blizzard, I forgot to mention them.
Oh, wow.
Holy fuck, are they in that category?
Absolutely.
Because it used to be the bare minimum for a Blizzard game was an 8. Like that's like the shittiest thing they would ever come out with. Every single game they came out with was associated with quality, and now it's the opposite of that. It's a giant conglomerate. Most everybody that worked there that made that place the magic that it is gone. BioWare's the same way. I mean,
all gone.
All the people that worked on KOTOR, Mass Effect, or whatever, at least like the developers and leads and all that, they're all gone. the founders of the company took their parachute packages and they're gone. Yep. So it's BioWare in name only. Yeah, it's a disturbing trend, and but yeah, all that goes to say, like, Baldur's Gate 3 looked in the face of that industry. Microsoft called Baldur's Gate 3 I think they said it was a low budget Stadia game, because they had the opportunity to put it on Game Pass, and they passed on it because they said it was just bottom of the barrel Stadia nonsense.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and
they could have had it on Game Pass.
Yeah, and it would have been exclusive to Game Pass. Like, the amount of money that they passed on by not recognizing the quality that Larian was putting in. I mean, we played Divinity 2, so we knew they were going to go ham on this.
Absolutely.
And I have played the fucking BioWare Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and knew how excellent they were. Mm-hmm. So it's like, Larian was just the dream to make this game. Yep. So they killed it, man. Baldur's Gate 3 is iconic. It broke through the culture. It's got people playing video games that aren't big gamers. Yeah. And it also is riding the wave of just how popular D&D has become as well. And, I just love that it spit in the face of an entire industry and was successful in the process.
Thank fucking goodness. And I'm so glad that we're nearing 2 years that the game's been out, and it's still hot as fish grease.
Yeah. Yeah, it is consistently the top single-player game on Steam. Yep. Like, a new game will come out, like Black Myth, will come out and knock it off the charts for a little bit. Oblivion will come out and knock it off the charts for a little bit. But within a week or two, Baldur's Gate 3 is back on top of whatever that game is.
Yep. And I can tell you this much, whatever Larian does next is going to be another high seller because they have so much name value now.
Yeah, I mean, they could come out with a SpongeBob MMO and I would play it.
Oh, day one.
Day one.
Yeah.
Can I be Patrick?
Yeah, Can I make a starfish character?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm playing that shit. I don't care what it is.
Absolutely.
They could come out with like a children's puzzle video game, and I'd be like, dope.
Yep. Pre-order.
Yeah. Can I get in that early access?
Right. Oh, shit.
All right, man. Take us home. What you got?
The last one that I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to comic books here.
Ooh.
Yep. And I'm going to close us out with probably my most recent read that's on this list. Superman for All Seasons.
Ooh, I haven't heard about this one.
Yeah. This one is...
Was Jurassic Park the only movie we had?
It was the only one that we
officially did.
Yeah.
This cover is gorgeous. The slipcase.
Yeah, absolutely. This was done by the famous duo of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, the same guys who did like The Long Halloween, and Haunted Night, Dark Victory, and they did a bunch of stuff for Marvel as well.
That slipcase is just
it's
breathtaking, man.
It's a gorgeous book. This is the absolute edition that I have right here.
I see they went with that thick ass neck Superman.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, we know that James Gunn's Superman is based off of All-Star Superman, but the way that Superman himself feels and is presented reminds me so much of this Superman. Actually, this is probably my favorite Superman story. For a while, I was thinking that it might have been All-Star. I was debating between that and a couple others, and then I read this one, Superman for All Seasons, and I was like, no, this is the one.
You gotta pop that open. Let me see. Let me see them panels.
Yes. It's a story all about like the beginning of Clark's days, and it really explores him as a character. And so you get a lot of Smallville in here. You get a lot of his first love, with Lana, and it's all about Clark coming into his own and figuring out who it is that he's supposed to be.
I really like this art style. It reminds me of Hush.
Yeah.
Which was on my list too, by the way.
Oh, Hush is also excellent. It's also ironic because Hush was also written by Jeff Loeb.
Yep. It's a different artist though, but the art style is still similar.
Right. Yeah. One of my favorite panels in here is actually really early on, and this it's with Thomas and I'm sorry, not Thomas, but it's with Martha, and they're talking about how it is raising a son like Clark, and like like, so what are we supposed to do with the kid? Like, here it is. He's like, yeah, you see, he's changing, he's different. Like, they don't know how to really handle a kid like Clark, and so they're talking about like, well, we raised him the best that we can. He's a good kid, blah blah blah. But do you think he'd be all right? Maybe he will. But the whole time he's up here in this room and he can hear everything that they're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm a stickler for like attention to details, and there's so much going on in Clark's room.
Yeah.
And I really love. And he's got a dog.
Yep.
There are no. What's the name of that band?
There's no the Mighty Crab Jockeys or whatever they are.
Yeah, there's none of that here. But even still, but we get to see what it's like for him to eventually move away. There's a giant tornado that hits Smallville, but he moves away. He comes back. He shows Lana that he has powers. He's different. Because that was like the one person who he felt he could kind of confide in besides his parents. But eventually he does become Superman. So this story is all about him becoming who he's supposed to be and figuring out who he's supposed to be.
This is one of those versions of Clark where I'm like, how does nobody figure out that this big old massive farm boy reporter, I guess it's the Ben Grimm / Raphael.
Yeah,
it's the trench coat and the hat.
Well, I will say this, like, to Tim Sale's credit, the way that he draws Clark is very bumbling and very. He always has the baggy clothes on.
Yeah.
In all the panels when he's Clark, and he typically has like a hunch in his look. But so this is just an overall tremendous story, and of course, like, it's called Superman for all seasons, so you see him in 4 different seasons of the year, and the story actually it ends with Lex Luthor back when he still had hair. And he is straight up hater. But it's a tremendous story, man, and it's such a heartfelt story. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, I think that this may be like my favorite Superman story ever. Just a tremendous book overall. I can't recommend it enough. If you guys do decide to pick up Superman for all seasons, I suggest splurging for the Absolute edition here.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah. And the other thing about this book that I think really got to me was, first of all, like, for me, this book is very heartfelt, first and foremost. But secondly, this book, the first time I read this book was actually not until after Tim Sale had passed away. And as a matter of fact, there's a whole forward in here from Jim Lee about Tim Sale, who's the artist here. And there's also one in here from Jeff Loeb as well, because those two worked together forever on everything. And so, like, reading this, it was very heartfelt. You get a mention from Jeff Loeb here, Jim Lee down here at the bottom, but just talking about the type of work that he did and the type of guy that he was. So reading that forward about their friend who passed away, tremendous artist, really sets the feels for reading this kind of book. But I think that's the kind of Superman that we're getting here in this James Gunn movie, even down to the baggy clothing.
I didn't mention this earlier when we talked about the Superman trailer, but they fucked Martha up, right? Like Martha Kent, that seems miscast, and like
maybe that's why we've only seen like one shot of her in all these trailers.
She better be incredibly minor in this movie, and I mean, I probably blame Zack Snyder for that shit. If they were like, we just don't want people saying Martha in the movie.
Oh, goddamn!
Because it just became so memed, you know.
Man, yeah, that one scene that we saw Martha in, maybe that just wasn't her best moment, but she did seem. With all due respect to any homies out there, almost redneck-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, like redneck-ish, kind of delirious. Mm-hmm. Like she might have a certain red hat with white letters on it in the kitchen. I'm just saying.
Anything but that. Oh, God, no.
She can't write because, I mean, there's no way that Clark would turn out.
Her son is an alien.
Yeah. He was here illegally.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But, you know, I mean, those people have done odd things.
Yeah, so, that's right, yeah.
Can't put it past them.
But, yeah, we hope that all you guys enjoyed us reminiscing about some things that we consider to be timeless, 10 out of 10, you know, just the best of the best of fiction in all medias.
Yes. And the crazy thing is, we both have more.
Yeah.
So there is a good chance that later on down the line we could revisit this. For example, I didn't put my very first 10 out of 10 on this list, which is Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you have a movie at all?
I had actually a few, yeah.
No, I mean, but you didn't actually
I didn't do
any of them,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I had like two from every category. I had Prestige, obviously, as the other one we talked about. So, but yeah, I had Dark Knight Returns and Hush as, you know, cliche as Dark Knight Returns is.
I mean, they deserve to be there, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, so I'm going to talk about The Watchmen again. Well, let's do something else.
I could have put 5 Cosmere novels on there.
Oh, for sure, right? Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you had Mistborn on your list. Yeah. Hero of Ages would have been on my list. Probably like Yumi and the Nightmare Painter and Sunlit Man could both go on my list for different reasons. I mean, it's a list. You know, it's so yeah, we may revisit this someday. You know, in 2027 when we are done reviewing all the things.
Oh, yeah.
That are coming out. Also, you know, if I don't quit my job here at the podcast over Ironheart.
No, you see, look at it this way. If you make it through Ironheart, we get to do Fantastic Four and Superman, you know.
That's true.
But you got to make it through Ironheart.
Yeah, like, I'm going to watch an episode of Ironheart, and then I'm just going to be like, hey, man, I quit. I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore.
Okay, now, look, it's 6 episodes, all right? You watch episode 1. I'll watch episode
2. I'd be like, I really should have saved my pass. I am very confident in my choice to use it on Batman Ninja 2. I think that was the right call.
Bruh, that movie, just really quick here. Like, I realized this after the fact, like, that movie is so fucking unhinged that I had a hard time making clips for it because it's like, what the fuck are we even talking about? Like, there's just no context.
The audience doesn't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
The people who made the movie don't know.
Yeah. Well, homies, that's going to be all for this one. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed this episode where we talk about some of the things that we think are just absolutely excellent.
Yeah, and Junior has been here scoring everything we've listed off. And as you can see, he's giving it all a 10.
He gave everything a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, and Junior doesn't lie.
Nope.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Nope. He is the bastion of truth.
Yes. He may be an alcoholic, but he is truthful.
That's true. I think he's actually toned it down, and I think there's like some cider in those now.
What kind of cider are we talking about?
Oh, it's alcoholic.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but I mean, it's less content.
That's true.
I think he's like he's scaling it back some.
It's better, I suppose.
I think he's in a program.
He needs to be. Baby steps, I guess.
Yeah. All right, homies.
Well, on that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We do have a lot more coming down the pipeline, including our reviews, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Fantastic Four 2015, Fanforstic. And then, of course, we have Ironheart, and then we have our July lineup, including the new Jurassic World movie, Superman, and Fantastic Four First Steps.
And don't forget, this coming Monday, the very next episode, we will be reviewing the season finale and series finale of Andor.
Yes. And, then after that, we also have The Last of Us wrap up as well.
Yeah. We sure do.
I love your enthusiasm.
Yeah, man, we've just been here for a while.
That's what it is, yeah. Well, homies, we will see you guys again very soon. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.